Yeah! What's going on, everybody? Ethan Newberry here for another Ginger Runner Live. This is episode number 28, and it will be our Squamish 50-50 23K race wrap-up. I am joined by...
Kim Tashima, mile long legs.
That's right. Pretty epic, amazing weekend for all of us here in... I was going to say in Squamish. We're not in Squamish currently. We are in Vancouver, British Columbia. We're going to go over the races, talk about the experience this weekend, and celebrate. I promise this episode would be a party episode if all went well.
And it's a party.
Yeah, it's a party episode. So we're going to pop the beer and talk some stories and hopefully share some knowledge on y'all. That's terrible.
On y'all.
That's a terrible start. Here we go. Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 28. Yeah! Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the live show, Ginger Runner Live, episode number 28, where we are going to recap the Squamish 50-50 and 23K races. This weekend was incredible on multiple fronts. I know that I'm going to talk a bit about my experience with those races, the 50-mile and then the 50-kilometer. And I want Kim to talk about the 23K, which she ran on Sunday. She also crewed me with a couple of my other best friends, Justin and Destiny. They all crewed me on Saturday for the 50-mile race. So I'll have you talk a bit about that too. I guess first thing we have to do is open our celebration, because we promised that today would be all about celebration. Where are you drinking from?
I have the Parallel 49 Tricycle, which is a Radler. I'm a huge Radler fan.
Really, really good. That's a delicious Radler. And I will be drinking the Baldwin & Cooper Best Bitter. You just did all...
You said it's going to be a party.
It's going to be a party on my laptop. I've already had one laptop go down. All right. This is the Baldwin & Cooper Best Bitter from House Sound Brewery, which is literally at the finish line of the Squamish 50-mile and 50K, 23K. You couldn't have asked for a better location for a brewery.
We also ate every meal there.
Pretty much every meal in Squamish we had at the House Sound Brewery. So cheers to you, my lady. Cheers. And cheers to you at home. Success. Oh, that's good.
I feel like you're going to have a bigger party than I'm going to have.
My party is about to get really exciting. It's not super...
size difference.
Yeah, the size difference is considerable. Not super high alcohol content, which will be good, so I can just continue to drink and not necessarily worry about it. Okay, so I want to start the show off by thanking all of you. One, for following the entire adventure from the episodes of Training for Squamish, episodes 1 through 5, following that whole process and basically giving your endless and continuous support throughout these entire training months, the last 6, 7, 8 months of training. I really have to thank all of you. Couldn't have done it without you guys. Second, I have to thank you for helping my album, Ginger Runner Grinds,
awesome.
Move up to the top 15 electronic albums on iTunes. That's the US iTunes. I don't know where it is internationally. I think someone said it's in the top 100 in the UK. I'm blown away. I'm blown away because this is something I never even expected to do. And when I was like, you know what, I'll throw my music together, put it into an album, and get it out to the public, because I know people really wanted some of the tunes from some of my races.
People have been asking for it from day one.
Yeah, since day one. So I was like, well, let's see what happens. I'm putting it into an album form. I'm putting it up online for people to get and download and enjoy. Never thought in a million years it would even be on a chart anywhere. And I know that the iTunes charts are updated fairly regularly, so it'll move around. I think it's currently like top 20 or something, and it'll continue to move around. I'm just so excited. And that happened Friday night.
So that's a great way to start the weekend.
Oh my God, I was freaking out, and I'll get into like last week's experience just in total. And Kim, please relay your stories of me from last week too. I was a mess. But Friday night, with no Wi-Fi or anything in Squamish, our hotel's Wi-Fi sucked. It was terrible. My phone didn't have Wi-Fi. My computer, you have to go out into the hallway just to get any sort of Wi-Fi signal. So I'm out in the hallway at like 11 at night. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to check iTunes. I want to check the albums and all that. And I looked, and basically nothing else mattered at that moment. My whole life was like, what? So I have to thank all of you. I really, really do. I'm ecstatic.
It's just been great hearing even friends of mine locally here saying that that's what they kind of loaded up on their iPods for the race and for the drive up to Squamish, and it's been great.
There was a moment on Saturday during the 50-mile race when I was running with another guy, and he turned around and saw that it was me. He's going, I think he was German. It's one of the German contingent up in Squamish. He's like, I'm listening to your music right now. I'm listening to your music right now. I was like, this is so weird. I love it. It's just so weird. It's so weird and awesome. So thank you, everybody. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about last week. So those of you who have followed me for a long time or kind of following this adventure in the lead up to the Squamish 50-50, you guys know that this race was kind of and by the way, Kim is in the chat room. So Kim will be kind of like, if you guys have any questions, ask away. Kim will be kind of keeping an eye on there. She'll be chatting in there because my eyes are obviously, I'm trying to do like 4 things at once. I got to drink the beer. That's priority number 1.
I'll do my best to pop into the chat, so if you see me actually looking down, I'm not falling asleep as Ethan's talking.
She might be. You never know. It was a long weekend. But yeah, if you have questions or anything for Kim or myself, just ask them in the chat room and interrupt me.
Yeah.
At any point, interrupt me.
Sure.
So last week, like the build-up, you guys just know that the Squamish 50-50, this is my A race. No, it's not. It's 2 races. It's the 50-mile on Saturday and the 50K on Sunday. And it's the first time they've done this at Squamish. Gary Robbins was like, you know what? Let's make it more difficult. The already very difficult 50-mile course. Let's make it more difficult. I registered for it last year, thinking I'll register for the 50-50, thinking I'm just going to stick with the 50-mile race. I'll just throw my name in the hat for the 50-50 just cause. And as the year went on, I was like, I can't duck out of it. I can't just commit to the 50-50 and then downgrade to the 50-miler. I have to train for it and I have to do it. And I had pretty good memories from last year's 50-miler of just the course being terrible and awful and completely decimated my body, and it was a terrible experience.
You had a tough day that day.
It was tough. It's a tough course. It's a no joke course. So this year, leading up to it, so much anticipation, so much stress, so much anxiety, and all the episodes of training for Squamish were just adding to that. Because as I put myself out there, like, oh, I'm training for the Squamish 50-50, it's like, oh, well, shit. I can't go back on that now. So as each episode drops, I'm like, oh, God, now I really have to do this.
You put it out there.
I put it out there, but maybe that's also why I did it. I don't know, like a subconscious, just do it. Put these videos out and show people and tell people that this is what you're going to do so you don't back down. You don't chicken out. It's really easy to chicken out, especially when it comes to this particular race. So last week, I flew into Vancouver, I flew into Seattle, took a road trip up. You guys saw the video last week. It goes into more detail than I will from last week. But hanging out here for like the 4 days leading up to when we were going to travel up to Squamish, I was a basket case.
You were a disaster.
I was a nut. Every day I'm like, oh, I want to go out and run, but I don't want to run. But I do want to hike, but I don't want to hike too hard, but I want to run. So I'd like try to find a way to get to a trail and be like, oh, well, I don't want to do 5 miles. I want to do 4.5. Because if I did 5 miles, I'd burn myself out. Well, maybe I'll do 5. No, maybe I should do 6. No, 4.5. Like,
you were adorable last week.
A
mess.
I was a mess. I would just say I was a mess.
Yeah. You're really like, I need to get my sleep. I need to get my nutrition. I need to go get my legs moving. But not too much, but just enough.
Yeah. It's a terrible week. I was managing to get sleep. All was well, but my stress level was through the roof. So what's going on in the chat room?
Oh, the 2 Germans are watching and still recovering. Greetings from Squamish.
Yeah. What's up, guys? The German contingent at Squamish was through the roof. It was great. So Friday was the day that we knew we were going to travel up to Squamish. We had to go to bib check-in and get all that stuff. All of us, both Kim and myself, and we were meeting our best friends, Justin and Destiny, up in Squamish as well, so we could all hang out, all get our bibs together. This was your first major trail race.
Outside of a 10K.
Outside of a 10K, yeah. And I would definitely say first trail race where you're deep in woods and you're dealing with aid stations that are, different than like a road-oriented trail
And
runner.
just a technicality on
Yeah,
its own.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin and Destiny are good friends. Also, their very first trail race, just first time really experiencing trail. So, why not dive headfirst into some of the hardest?
Why not sign up for the one that says this should not be your first trail
Yeah,
race?
right there on the website. This should not be your first trail race. Okay, well, let's make it our friend's first trail race. So we all get up there, we all congregate, we all grab food and check into the hotel and try to relax, get our bibs, get everything oriented. And at this point, I'm trying so hard to focus on what I need to do for the next day, which is the 50-mile race, which I just know is tough. Anyone who's done it just knows it's a tough course. I'm reading online people who maybe did it as their first one, and they're like, oh, well, it was runnable, or, it was pretty good. Like, don't you dare lie. Don't you dare be one of those, it was fine.
Okay.
I did okay. It's like, that's bullshit. It was hard. It was difficult. It was technical. You got your ass handed to you, and you're being, what is it? Arrogant?
Like just nonchalant about the situation.
No, we got to give this race more credit. It's tough. It's hard. Deal with it. So I knew that going into it. On Friday night, it's late. Luckily, I had sleep a couple nights before, but I'm still just really, really anxious about it. Basically just went to bed freaking out. The rest, Justin, Destiny, and Kim, would wake up with me for my start time, which was 5:30 a.m. I need to get up at like 3:30 a.m. so I can get everything together, every last minute thing, get my pack all together, basically everything that I'd need. And I'll get into technically what I used for race day. It was not quite different than what I did in the training for Squamish episode number 5. It was all pretty much in line with what I described there, but we all needed to go together so they could, one, film the start, see the start, and they were going to crew pretty much the whole day. And I know what crewing does to people. It's exhausting. It's not like, oh, it's easy. We just drive around and we sit and wait. It's stressful. And we'll get to why in a second. So I gather everything. I put on all my gear and all that stuff. So I went with the Nike Wild Horse 2 as my shoes to start.
Just to answer, there's a lot of shoe questions happening in the chat.
Yeah, people have been commenting on the photos and stuff like that from this weekend. I went with the Wild Horse 2 to start. I know that this course starts with 6 miles of fairly flat road, not road running, but more like gravel trails, really soft, real easy first 6 miles. As soon as you hit mile 6.5, which is just after the first aid station, you start climbing pretty extremely with the first major climb of the day. You get to mile 12, it's the second aid station at Alice Lake, and it rolls for a little bit longer. Not really technical at this point until you get to, it doesn't really get technical until you get to the top of Galactic Shiza, which is this extremely tall mountain right in the middle of the course, mile 25 or so. And the downside of that is extremely technical. So I wanted to have some nice shoes that would be fast, that would be great for technical terrain, and nimble. I just wanted to make sure that I can maintain my nimbility.
Nice.
Great. It's a good word. So I stuck with the Wild Horse 2, and I used my Solomon tight shorts for compression to kind of keep my quads and glutes and everything as compressed as possible because I knew what I had to do the next day. My Ginger Runner black performance tee and the Train Race Beer buff and my pack, my Solomon 5-liter pack with the GoPro, the bottles. I did the 2 bottles up front, the bladder in the back. That all weekend, that was the best choice for me.
Great system for you.
Great system. It was heavy. That's the only downside is because you're carrying a full 1.5 liters of water on the back, which I don't think I needed that. I probably could have gotten away with just throwing a 3rd bottle back there and getting rid of the bladder altogether. Last year, I needed a 3rd water source. I only had 2. And that was a big mistake last year. This year, I thought, I'll just have the bladder plus the 2 bottles, and I think I only needed 2 bottles plus maybe a 3rd.
You also had 0 encore support from crew
last year. Yeah. So I made a couple of mistakes. Okay, so I had basically all my gear, everything was together. I was ready to go. Felt really good. Woke up, was wide awake. Didn't feel tired. Didn't feel groggy. Met a lot of cool people at the start line. People who watch the videos and fans like that. Hung out with my buddy Joe Chick, who's an awesome runner, really incredible runner, and he wanted to run as much as he could with me. He's so much faster than me. He's like, hey, I'm not going for any PRs today or anything like that. I just want to run this course well. And if it's cool, I'd love to run with you for a bit. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. But sometimes I like to lock out sound. I like to put headphones in and maybe not talk. And he's like, oh, dude, totally. I'm the same way. So we started the race together. We ran the first 6.5 miles together.
Yeah, you guys rolled into the first aid station together.
Rolled in together, and I rolled right out. Aid station 1, you already knew what to do. I knew what to do. It's 6 miles. It's all flat. I knew I was going to go through 1 bottle of Tailwind. That was all I needed.
Yep, just one bottle exchange.
I was going to throw to Kim. She was going to hand me a bottle full of new Tailwind. So I'd have 2 fresh bottles for the next 6 miles, which included the pretty big climb. As soon as I hit mile 7, nauseous. Like the worst type of nausea. It was almost instant. As soon as I started climbing up, I could not think about anything food or liquid related whatsoever. I have no idea why. Kim thinks it's stress or anxiety related. Could be. I think it could have been maybe too much caffeine because I had normally I don't drink much caffeine.
Could be a combo of those.
Could be a combo of anything.
Acid, caffeine.
I was just nauseous, and so as a ultra runner and someone who has been around some of the best ultra runners and try to like leech off as much information as possible. If it's a stomach issue, you'll get through it. You just have to be patient with it. And there's a couple tricks to get through nausea or any of that kind of stuff, and that is to just kind of stop putting stuff in until your system is able to reset, or you manually reset your system with your finger down your throat. Or you push until I'm not a fan of that. I hate throwing up. I will do anything to avoid it. Anything to avoid it.
We'll talk about that later.
In fact, we're talking about it right now. Oh yeah. Oh god. So my goal, once the nausea hit, was to keep moving forward, but try to figure out what the fuck was going on. I can't tell you how many thoughts went through my head. My day is done. I'm nauseous at mile 7. No intake of food or liquid whatsoever without feeling worse. Ginger chews didn't help. Nothing helped. So here I'm going, I have another 44 miles to go. Some of the biggest climbs of the race, some of the most technical climbs of the race. And I can't even think about food or putting in any calories. I'm just getting started. I'm 58 minutes into this race. What the fuck is going on? I just kept pushing forward. I roll into Aid Station 2, which is where Kim and my crew would see me for the first time since Aid Station 1, but also the last time they'd see me for a very long time.
20 miles.
20 miles. When they wouldn't see me until Aid Station Mile 33 Quest University.
Which is technically Aid Station 5.
So I roll into Aid Station 2. I go right up to him. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. My system is done. I'm nauseous. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to fix this. And what was going through your head?
I mean, I've seen you through plenty of races, and just watching you kind of run up to us, I know I have to put my game face on for you in these type of situations, but just looking at your face, it was devastating to me. Because I didn't know how to fix you, didn't know what I could give you, tried to say what I needed to say to kind of help you through. You were in rough shape, and it was troublesome because it was early in the race. It was mile 12. And
mile 12. It was just too early. At that point I'd been going with 5 miles nauseous. And in races in the past, like the Cuyamaca 100K, I had issues from mile 32 to 38. That's about right, yeah. During the North Face 50 miler last December, I had issues from 31 to 36 or so. It always happens to me in races, at least of that distance, anything above 31 miles or so, between like 30 to 38 miles. Somewhere in there I'll have some sort of nausea that just comes and takes over. I can push through as long as I like slow it down and start walking. I can usually push through it. And I've been able to determine that it's probably calorie related. Either I'm not putting in the right amount of calories, too much liquid, not enough liquid. My body's not digesting the liquid. So there's some issue that I know. I'm like, oh, I got to fix that for next time I run that race. This was the first 50 miler that I've done where I feel like I've worked out my nutrition issues by sticking with Tailwind, by sticking with liquid nutrition. That has worked for me in every 50K that I've run this year so far, like dialed in.
Even very dialed in.
Like no nutrition issues whatsoever in any of my 50Ks or marathons or anything like that. This is the first time that I'm like, okay, well, we'll see what happens at mile 31. I was thinking at mile 31, that's when I might have an issue. I can push through it and figure it out. I have in the past. But at mile 7 to get something like this. So I push out of aid station 2, mile 12. I know that there's just rolling terrain. It's not technical. It's fairly straightforward. Runnable if you're feeling well. There's a couple climbs before you get to aid station 3. Totally dealable. Nothing extreme. You roll into aid station number 3. I get there and someone recognizes me. He's like, Ethan, how you feeling? You doing well? I look at her. I'm like, no, I have no idea what's going on. I can't even look at your table of food. I can't put anything in right now. I think I might have had some Coke. I might have tried to put, oh, that's right. I tried eating potatoes. And ultra runners can attest to this. When you're not able to put in food and you put in food, it's the worst thing because all you can do is chew it. You just keep chewing. It's like, I sat there for maybe 5-8 minutes. I didn't sit. But it's 5 or 8 minutes just chewing the same piece of potato. And it was turning into a mash. And so I'm like, just swallow it. But you can't even swallow it. You can't get it down because it just is like, it's so unappetizing.
A friend of mine, Russ, was working that particular aid station, and I kind of heard the aftermath story version from him as well. And he was just like, man, Ethan looked horrible when he rolled into our aid station.
But I was like clueless. I mean, yeah, I felt shitty, but I just didn't know why. And I feel like my body was retaining a lot of the liquid. Mm-hmm. So what I'm guessing now is that possibly I put in too much water too early. So maybe, I had a small breakfast before the race. Maybe I needed that first hour to just let my body get into motion before I started just filling it with calories. Maybe I'll try that next time. I don't know. How, the thing is every race will be different, right? This particular race was really muggy, but it was totally overcast, so I didn't have any heat issues, but I had some real muggy issues.
It's a sweaty weekend.
I was constantly wet. I'm looking through some of the footage that I shot and Kim shot, and my friend shot, and I'm just soaking. The whole race, I'm just soaking wet. It's because it's super muggy. So maybe my body wasn't releasing the moisture as quickly because it was already so wet that it thought it was already sweating. I don't know, whatever. So this aid station 3, I hit twice. It's aid station 3 and aid station 4 because you go out on this lollipop loop, you come back to 4, and before you head out onto the Galactic Shiza, which is the biggest climb of the day. It's 3.5 miles up, 2,100 feet of elevation gain. Not technical, just straight. There's no switchbacks. It's just straight grind. You get to the top, and then it's a fairly technical descent. It's about 3.5 miles down, and not 2,100 feet, more like 1,500 feet, I think, before you get to aid station. Is
that where you guys pop out onto the
5.
road?
Yeah, we pop out onto a road. There's a little mini aid station there. It's the aid station last year that I believe had circus peanuts. This year's different. Yeah, no, this year was awesome. This year was great. So I go to this lollipop loop to come back to aid station 3, which is now 4. Something happened literally about 1,000 feet away from the aid station, like a light switch. Felt great. All of a sudden, was craving food. Was thinking in my mind, oh, I can't wait to eat watermelon. Oh, I can't wait to have Coke. Oh, that potato, that was a really good potato. Oh, I can't wait. No idea what happened and why it took so long. 17 miles of nausea. 17. Because it wasn't until I hit mile 23, which is that aid station again, that all of a sudden I felt good. That is the longest that I've gone in any particular race where I just felt like shit.
That's a long block of time to go early on in the race feeling like that.
I haven't looked at the splits. I'm afraid to. It's such a long period of time. And I've now been witness to 2 100-mile races as crew. And you just see the carnage that comes through, and you see these people go aid station to aid station, and they're feeling like shit. And this is the first time I was like, I'm just getting a taste of what some of these runners go through. 17 miles to some ultra runners out there is like, oh, come on, that's all? 17 miles? Try that 3 times in the course of a day, like 17 miles here, 17 miles here, 17 miles here. But for me, it was confusing me, and it was mixing me up as like, why is this happening? It's too early, blah, blah, blah. But literally like a light switch, it turned back on, and all of a sudden it was off to the races. I knew I couldn't go fast because I had the race the next day, so I was trying to be very conservative. I was keeping my heart rate in the zone whenever my heart rate step worked. I power hiked up all the big stuff, and I ran conservatively down all the major climbs. Had fun. all of a sudden, just everything, I just wanted to have fun. And that's exactly what I did. Finally, at mile 33, which is when I knew I was going to see these
Yep.
guys again, Quest University, I roll in there, and you guys were already like ready to go.
Yep.
Did anyone tell you at that point like how I was feeling? Did you know I was still feeling bad or good?
No, I didn't really know. Joe had already rolled through the aid station, so we knew he obviously had separated from you at some point.
Very early on, mile 7.
He was having, I mean, I don't know all the details, but at that point he was having a pretty easy breezy race. So yeah, no, I had no idea, but I did say as soon as you left aid station 2, where I saw you where you were suffering, we talked about it a little bit, myself and Justin and Destiny. I said, we're going to see him at the next stop, and he's going to be feeling good. I knew that whatever was happening to you was going to turn around, and because it was such a big gap, like we didn't see you for a long, long time, like 5 hours or something. So
yeah, 5 hours. I think it's 5 hours.
It was such a delight to see you come running up those stairs and like looking fresh, you were a completely different person.
Oh, I was ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird when things start shifting for you in an ultramarathon, and they always will. They always will, as long as you give it time.
Yeah.
They always will, unless it's some sort of serious medical issue, which I've had friends that have had, serious medical issues, things that you need to go to the hospital for, or you need to get checked out like pronto. That happens. In this case, I knew it was just nausea, just stomach stuff.
And yeah, you completely turned around. So at that particular aid station, my job was to, one, make sure you ate.
Mm-hmm.
So you did your Ensure.
Yeah, I did an Ensure at mile 33. Sally did it at Western twice. Billy did it at AC once or twice. And I was like, oh, what is this Ensure thing? And I'm thinking it's like an old person drink, right? It's like the stuff you get at a pharmacy that old people drink to get their minerals and protein. You look at the ingredients, you're like, oh, this actually has everything an ultra runner would want, and it's chocolate.
We have them at my office, and if I know I'm going out for like a run that night and I didn't bring enough food during the day, I always just have one of those.
250 calories in a little pocket. Protein, like
tasty.
10 grams of protein. They're super tasty. Tastes like a chocolate shake or chocolate milk. Has iron, magnesium, has like everything. Has all your minerals that you need. So if you can stomach it, go for it. So I did at mile 33. I have no idea if it helped my race or whatever. I kept it down and it was fine. So mile 33, I swapped shoes. I switched to the Hoka Huacas. I knew that coming up I had a couple pretty technical descents, but also some long running sections, and I knew the last stretch of the race, my feet were probably going to be pretty toast. And running into Quest, my feet were toast. I don't know what happened, but early on, the bottoms of my feet just started killing me. So I knew I needed to get into something softer, so I put in the Hoka Huacas, which was kind of my plan anyways, was to switch into those to help keep my feet fresh for the next day.
Yeah.
I didn't want to beat them up too hard day one, knowing I had 31 more miles to run the next day. So Hoka Huacas, got those on. That's basically it. Refilled the bottles, got some watermelon, got some calories, got some Coke, and got out of there. Actually took too long there. Watching some of the footage back, I'm like, Jesus,
you did what you needed to do, though. You needed to switch your shoes. You needed to have whatever.
You got me out of there.
Got you out of there. So
the next section I was totally familiar with, because the next section, you guys might actually have seen it in the Training for Squamish episode 3, I believe. So the section Kim and I ran together when you were having a really rough day.
Yeah.
It was a section that I was pretty familiar with already. So I knew it was coming up. I knew that there was a climb. I knew there was a pretty tough climb. But the descent off that climb was going to be soft and really fun. So I just tried to have smiles for miles. I just turned that frown upside down and just kept on pumping, man. Are there any questions in the chat room? I saw a couple go by.
Somebody was asking about your customized Ginger Runner New Balance shirt. Where did you get it? How did you get it?
I ordered that through a company that does all sorts of orders. In particular, these are one-offs. I wanted to have a couple new updates because my old ones are so nasty. My other Train Race Beer shirts are like stained.
Overdue.
They're overdue for like a complete redo. So I had these custom made, and they were fucking expensive. I look back and go, that's not worth it. It wasn't worth it.
Nicholas Combs asks, did you use a heart rate monitor, or did you just go off feel?
Heart rate monitor. which didn't work. It's a heart rate monitor I've used in all my training and everything like that. I think the humidity may have played a part in it because I was so wet constantly. It probably thought it was underwater.
Chris Holloway asked about Injinji socks. Is that what we wore all weekend?
All weekend
yes,
Injinjis, yes.
Both of us.
yeah, always. I love Injinjis. Absolutely 100%. Wearing them right now. They're great. There was a question earlier about Adam Campbell, if I saw Adam Campbell.
Sure
did. He was, I don't think he was a surprise entrance, but he ran the 50K on Sunday, decimated it. Course record. The kid just flies.
He flew by me before I was at our particular second aid station, just like out for a Sunday jog, but flying.
And on this terrain, if you see someone flying on this terrain, it is a sight to see. It's like Kilian Jornet flying down some of these passes in Europe, right? These incredibly technical passes that are really exposed. Watching someone like Adam Campbell or even Ellie Greenwood fly down these hills, these technical hills, it's just, you have to sit there and watch and try to learn, because as someone who's kind of, I'm the mid-packer and I'm going down, taking my time, but also like, oh, I'm going fast, look at me go. These guys, 6-minute miles down this stuff. You're like, what?
Like Ellie blew by us as well, and I'm such a fan of Ellie's that I'm pretty sure I probably freaked out a little bit when she ran by me. And I was like, yeah, Ellie, like, go. And she kind of like turned around to us and said, like, nice work, ladies. And I was like, oh. Yeah, Adam Campbell.
Yeah.
One of the nicest dudes.
Super nice. So hung out with him a little bit at the end of the 50K, just briefly said hello, nice to meet him in person, because he was on the show, I forget how many episodes ago, talking about hard rock. So it's good to actually see him in person and touch base with him right now. Okay. Moving on from that aid station, I knew basically what was coming up. There were some aid stations ahead from Quest that I knew that I could just run through, as long as I got my watermelon or any sort of calorie that had substance to it, plus Coke. I can't tell you how much you can survive off Coke in an ultramarathon. 2 cups of Coke at every aid station and 2 handfuls of watermelon, or 2 slices, depending on how they had it cut up, and just kept on pumping, man. And again, continue with Tailwind. So bottles of Tailwind up front. I would do a bottle of Tailwind every hour, and I would make sure to diligently drink it. And if for some reason there was a couple moments where I was actually really thirsty, so I had the bladder full of water, and I only think I filled that once, and even then it was already half full. So I really didn't take much additional water, and which clued me into I was probably getting plenty of water from my Tailwind mixture.
Alone.
So doing any additional water on top of that was probably overhydrating me, which could be why I was nauseous earlier in the race.
Yep.
That is my reasoning as to that. I still felt like I was retaining liquid, so that's also why I didn't want to continue to put more liquid in. Just let whatever was in there process. Mm-hmm. Felt great, felt good, felt strong. I had very few goals on Saturday as far as how I wanted to finish. Last year I did it in 12:58.
I had a goal for you.
To finish.
Under 12.
Under 12, right.
That was my secret goal for you.
Well, my secret goal was to beat last year's time. Last year I just had a real tough time. Last year it was my second 50-miler. I had no idea what to expect. I got my ass handed to me. It's just a really tough race to do when you're not necessarily used to it. That terrain, you don't get a chance to train on that terrain. It will tear you apart. So last year I had a pretty rough time. I still finished like right in the middle of the field. Just like right in the front of the middle, I think. It was at 12:58 hours, 12 hours and 58 minutes. This year I was like, you know what? Since I'm doing 2 races on the same terrain, I would like to beat last year's time if I can in the 50-miler. If not, I'm cool with it because I'll have plenty of time to make up the next day. My whole weekend goal, which I've told you guys in the past, I think I actually mentioned it last week, was to go sub 20. I thought if I could do well in the 50-miler, I'd have plenty of time for the 50K the next day, hopefully to get sub 20, which in my mind is like, if I could do sub 20 at Squamish over 81, 82 miles, I could mentally like be a sub 24 100-mile racer on terrain that isn't even remotely Squamish tough. So that was kind of this reasoning. I'm like, that could be a really good sign for me for things to come, is if I can go sub 20 at Squamish and 82 miles, I could be a sub 24 100-mile racer someday. So I'm not paying too much attention to time until the last aid station. So the last aid station was when I get to see you guys. This is aid station number 7. I come off this really steep climb that Kim and I have done in the past, and it's a blast. It's really technical. There's these wooden bridges you have to like precariously like balance down unless you're an elite, and then you just skip them and just jump over. So I'm running down. I get to the fire roads. I know that at the end of these fire roads is a bigger climb into aid station number 7. There's a beautiful like waterfall river that you cross over. So I always like to look at that. It's just gorgeous. Glacier runoff. It's spectacular. They actually posted an Instagram photo of it at Kimberley DT on Instagram. So I know once I get to that, I'm feeling really good. I know that there's only about 7 miles left. So I coming down that fire road, I'm feeling great. The body is dialed. My knees are not hurting me after all that descent and uphill and stuff like that. My feet are feeling better for some reason.
Quad's good.
Quad's good. Quad's are totally good. Hammy, which is an issue that I've had a couple months ago, which I remember mentioning in the video. Everything felt good. I started just, what? You want to drink wine? You can have it. You can have a taste of it. I just started grinding. Basically, there's this climb into the aid station, and I'm power hiking, super focused, just like, I gotta go. I gotta keep moving. I gotta get in and out of here as soon as possible. I want to finish this 50-mile race. Let's push. And sure enough, I roll into the aid station. I'm like pulling out bottles. Kim's grabbing bottles. My friends are like filming. I'm being rude to the volunteers. I'm very sorry to the volunteers at the aid station. I think I'm being rude.
I think you're fine. Actually, it turned out a lot of my friends were actually working in the aid station. A lot of people I know through the trail running community. And I made sure to thank everybody after you took off anyway. So
I have no place. I have no place being rude to anybody at an aid station. I wasn't like cursing or swearing at people. No. I just wasn't talking.
I think you weren't your usual like, thank you for being here.
Like, I'm always like thank you guys, thank you for being out here. I really, really appreciate your presence, especially this deep in the forest and stuff. I just didn't say anything. So in my mind, I'm like, that's really fucking dickish. And come on, we have no place to be rude to volunteers. If you are in first place, I'll give you that. Be as rude as you want. You need to get in and out. I mean, they're working their ass off. They want as little hesitation or anything. I get that. They want someone to take their bottles, fill it, whatever they need to do. I get it. Yeah. I have no place to be rude. No one in the middle or even mid-front pack. No place. So I roll in. I'm quiet and focused and determined. Get my bottles refilled. Get watermelon in me. At this point, I also needed to swap out my GoPro case because my GoPro, because of all the humidity, was getting moist and foggy. So half my footage, I haven't gone through all of it, is just foggy as fuck. I don't know if it's even going to come out. So I tried not to shoot too much on Saturday.
Sorry to interrupt you. Elaine, hello, Elaine is in the chat room.
Oh,
she was the sweetheart that was working.
Yeah.
I've run with her before, and actually she allowed me to lay Ethan's stuff out on the hood of her car.
Elaine was actually at that aid station. So Elaine, I'm sorry.
And you guys ended up running together.
We ended up running a little bit together on Sunday. So Elaine, I'm sorry if I was rude to you or if I came across as rude at aid station 7.
They didn't think you were rude.
Okay, good. Because you always leave an aid station, you go, are they gossiping about me now? Like, God, that Ethan, that ginger runner, he's a dick. Mm-hmm. What a dick. Okay, so So you fill up the bottles. I swap the bottles. I really only need like 1 and 1.5 or something because I know that it's only 7 miles left. It's big, 2 big climbs. Not big, just steep. I'm running out of that aid station. I'm booking it. I'm getting to those climbs. I'm starting to grind up. I couldn't swap the GoPro case because it was the one thing at this one aid station that you guys, it was the one time you guys didn't bring it. You had it at every other aid station.
So we ended up having, this particular aid station, you actually have to drive up a big logging road and then up further more dirt roads. And there was a bike race happening that day as well. And the guy that was controlling traffic at that point had decided for some reason or another to tell us that they were no longer letting cars past a certain point and that we actually had to hike in. So
it was really rude.
He was not accommodating, especially because I knew I had friends that had just driven down that road. So it was frustrating because, we obviously want to save our legs for the next day too. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, what is Ethan going to ask for at this aid station? He's going to ask for this. I'm going to take a little bit of this, or that. So kind of loaded up the bags and we packed in, we hiked in what we could hike in. And the one thing I didn't think he was going to ask for.
That's when I got mad at the aid station. But it's a stupid reason to get angry.
So really, it's my fault.
It's my fault for getting angry because it's a fucking GoPro case. Who asked for a GoPro case at mile 43 of an ultra? I've got 7 miles left. Come on, give me my GoPro case.
This guy.
My fault. They didn't have it. I didn't need it. I mean, great. I'm gonna film myself? How arrogant is that? Like, focus on your race, dude. Don't focus on anything else. Regardless, I wanted in and out of there as quickly as possible. I leave. I run out, and I'm like running up the switchbacks. For some reason, I have this resurgence of energy. All my pain gone. Feet feel great. Toes feel great. Like, I'm a runner again. I feel like I'm fresh. I feel like I just started. So I'm booking it up this hill. I finally, when I get to the top of Mountain of Phlegm, which is the last big climb, and it's a nasty, it just is just until finally get to the top. I look at my watch, and I'm realizing that I'm going to beat my last year's PR. And you can't help but get a little bit emotional. When you just are not looking at your watch all day because you're so, you know that you did 17 miles of just terrible running earlier in the race. You just have no idea. In my mind, I was going, oh, there's no way I'm going to beat last year's PR. I'm going to be lucky to break 14 hours or something today. Like, I'm just going to be thankful to finish because you had this hours earlier in the race where you're walking. I was walking for hours on flat trails because I couldn't keep food in. And I'm booking it now, and I look at my watch, and I'm like, holy fuck, I can actually do this. I can do this. So I push, and I push.
What were you telling yourself?
Oh, my God. So here is my mantra. Ultra runners tend to bring mantras.
Sorry, I just want to just say that at the last aid station where we saw him and he was looking good, and I also had my eye on the time, I think I grabbed you by the shoulders with both hands numerous times and like yelled at you, run smart, run smart.
It's true. It's in the video. You can see it.
Because I figured I knew what was going to happen.
So my mantra, and this basically started at mile 35 or something, right after I saw you guys at Quest on Saturday when I was feeling good. I was like, man, why am I feeling so good now at mile 35 when I normally in an ultra will feel like I did at mile 7? My mantra all weekend, don't get cocky, kid. Star Wars, Harrison Ford. Because that is what you want to run an ultra with. Don't get cocky, kid. So I ran out of that aid station just pushing it, pushing. And I get there and I look at my watch and I'm like, I'm going to get a PR. But at the same point, I'm telling myself, don't get cocky. Go for the PR, but don't push so hard that you do something that will either ruin tomorrow or ruin a muscle or do something terrible so you won't finish at all.
Because that last chunk,
it's dangerous.
It's dangerous. It's technical. It's steep.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
You fall there, you fall.
You're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah, you're going to hurt yourself badly. So I kept pushing. I get down. There's a terrible case of stairs. Sounds like a disease.
That guy had a terrible
case of stairs. I get to the bottom. I'm running out to the road, and you have about 2 miles, a mile of road left. And I'm running, and I'm just booking it. And there's another girl that passed me very early on in that last section where she was grinding up these hills faster than I was. She was killing it. And I caught back up to her on the roads. This was her first 50-miler, and she's just absolutely decimating it. So I catch up to her. I'm like, we are not quitting now. Keep pushing. So we're just booking it down the last straightaway. I just looked at the clip of me finishing, and I literally sprint by. I don't know where that came from, the last 100 meters.
Because I was screaming at you and doing this.
Oh.
So
I looked at my watch, 11:58. And blank seconds. I didn't have seconds clicked on my watch at this point.
So I was standing just outside of the finish line.
Yelling 1 minute.
And I was looking at my watch, and my watch literally said like 5:28:50.
Yeah.
Of the time of day. And I was like, oh my God, is he going to do it? Is he going to? And I'm going to eat. He's like way down. I'm like, 1 minute.
I had 1 minute to finish under 12. I finished in...
I don't know.
I think it was 50 seconds or 55 seconds under 12 hours, which is an hour PR on this course. An hour I shaved off from last year.
You should have a drink of beer.
I'm going to have a 55-second long drink of beer. No, I won't.
So people are asking a lot of questions about your recovery.
Okay, I think this is the key.
That night?
Yeah. and I'll try to move through this quickly, and I want to get to your 23K race before we do the 50K race the next day. But so I knew from the very beginning that this race is unlike a 100-miler because I stop at 50 miles. 100-mile racers don't get to stop. They have to keep pushing for another 50 miles. So I almost consider this a benefit. A lot of people I've talked to is like, dude, that is the worst. Not only are you, yes, you get to stop at 50 miles, but then you have like 10 hours basically to recover completely to run another ultra. I never looked at it as worse than 100. I've never run 100. I can only imagine how painful and terrible it is to run 50 miles after you just run 50 miles altogether. I considered it like a stage race. So there's all like Trans Rockies. There's the Coastal Series race down in Costa Rica. There's all these stage races where each day these runners are running 30, 40 miles, 20 miles, day after day after day after day after day. So I kind of looked at it like that, where my key was going to be recovery. Didn't matter how well I did the first day. I could have done terribly. It didn't matter how long I was out in the course. My goal was to recover smartly. And so I've been trying to train my body to recover. I've been doing a lot of double days specifically for this race. You saw in some of my videos. I think the longest weekend, which I did document it, but I did not edit it into a video, was a 20-mile run on a Saturday and then a 30-mile run the next day. I think it was a 50-mile weekend. It was extremely hard and painful and difficult. And I mean, I wanted to quit the whole time. I felt injured. It was pretty bad. But I did that one weekend. So after the 50-mile on Saturday, we basically sat around on the grass at the finish line for maybe an hour and a half or something, just so I could I just needed to stop moving. Justin, Destiny, and Kim were all there. I didn't eat anything there. I had an Ensure.
Did not.
I believe I had an Ensure.
I'm trying to think of.
Man, I'm
the
very.
days
That whole
are
day
like
was
blurring
blacked
a little
out.
bit for me right now.
Yeah, me too. I had a beer. I had a beer at the finish line. I remember that because we
Yeah.
didn't have any money.
That's right.
And they were like $5. Like,
Oh.
none of us run with money. So I did have a beer at the finish line. I don't remember eating anything at the park actually. But for dinner, I basically ate pizza. I had to get as much calorie in as possible. So I had a full pizza, not that big, just cheese pizza. I had half of your pizza as well.
Yeah. Salad, a little bit of salad.
A little bit of salad.
Lots of water.
Tons of water. Drank tons of water. Took a 12-minute ice bath. Filled the tub with cold water. Tons of ice from the ice machines at the hotel. Took a 10, 12-minute ice bath. Fully submerged from the waist down. Sucked, but it's part of the process to keep the swelling and muscle fatigue and stuff like that down. Took a hot shower about 15, 20 minutes after that to let my body kind of reheat itself. Took a hot shower to get cleaned up. All night, I had a similar sensation that I had after Leona Divide 50-miler. My skin felt super hot, and I kept asking Kim if I had any sort of temperature or anything like that. You didn't seem. You said I was warm.
You were warm, but you weren't not fever type situation.
I was actually really nervous at that point. I'm like, my body doesn't know what's going on. My body is doing its typical recovery routine where it's freaking out. Mm-hmm. It's trying to regulate my temperature. It's trying to regulate my organs. It's trying to regulate everything because I just did something to it it hates. So I felt off. My feet were raw meat. Like they were so sore. I couldn't even like put pressure on them. So I had to elevate those. I put them on a couple pillows at the end of the bed and slept as much as I could. Really tossing and turning all night, as someone would be after an ultramarathon. But I feel like I got a good 6 hours of sleep maybe, mixed with tossing and turning and nightmares from the Squamish course and all that good stuff. Before I get to the next morning, I think we should talk about you and your 23K race.
All right. Well, the 23K was.
And I'm going to jump into the chat room while you talk. So if there's any questions, stuff like that.
Mine's just going to be a little bit shorter. 23K was on Sunday, the same day as the 50K. I signed up for this quite a long time ago, and it actually kind of works pretty well in my training plan. I'm doing a 50K in October. So I've been doing my fair amount of hours out on the North Shore and the trails here and putting in my time. So I've been looking forward to this 23K for a long time. Tons of friends, like local people running the race too. So I had previously run the Squamish Trails one time with Ethan before, in which I had a horrible experience from one of your videos, race three maybe, video three.
Yeah, I think it's video 3.
Yeah. So I was kind of looking forward to getting a little bit of redemption out there. The start line started for us was at Quest, which was one of the aid stations for these guys. My goal was just to kind of go out, enjoy the trails, come out on the other end happy and unscathed. These type of trails, it's just really easy to get injured. It's really easy to kind of be overconfident and be over cocky and just go out there and just there's so many places that you can just really, really hurt yourself. So I kind of just went into it with that mindset where I was just going to kind of take it easy and run my own race. So trying to think. So our side of the race, you kind of come down a tiny bit, and it turns into like a double track right away, which isn't really ideal at the start of the race. I think there was three.
It's a sidewalk.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2x2. So there was about 300 people running our race. So our race literally started out, people kind of jogged a few steps, and then it was like a dead halt, and everybody was kind of just marching down the thing. And you started at that point, and it's a steady climb from there. I felt pretty decent off the get-go. I was feeling strong. I was feeling okay, kind of moving at a slower pace, running with a few of my good girlfriends from the trails here. Everything kind of felt good. I was also doing tailwind, so I was trying to do about 200 calories per hour. I had 2 soft flasks in the front of my vest, so I did a more concentrated mix. I opted for that instead of mixing in my bladder just so I can keep track of what I'm taking in during the day. It's not easy to do that if it's mixed into your bladder. So I was keeping on right on schedule for my hydration and nutrition. And really early on, I just started to feel not well, which is kind of unfortunately a familiar thing for me. I went through it during San Francisco. It happened to me before at San Francisco last year. I don't know what it is, and I'm working with my coach to try and kind of nail down what it is because I need to get this sorted out before my 50K. So regardless of really how I was feeling, I was kind of just like trucking up the uphills and downhills. For me, downhill technical, that's where my strength is.
And you fly downhill. She's unbelievable on technical downhill. I mean, I like to think that I'm pretty fast in some sections of technical downhill. Kim's like, this is fun. Just like keeping up. I mean, I honestly think that that's where you're going to succeed in some of these trail races. It's just you're going to fly down these hills.
I mean, for me, and I've talked about it a little bit before, kind of on my Facebook page and stuff like that. I just love that sensation, that like fine line of being completely in control and being completely out of control going downhill. I feel like I can kind of harness that, and it's like an adrenaline rush for me, and I just love flying down the downhills. So I was doing great. I mean, I was picking off people. Every downhill I was running, I was picking off people, and for me, that's a pretty cool feeling because I'm a slower runner.
Mm-hmm.
So aid station 1 for us came fairly early on in the game. At that point, I think I had a couple pieces of watermelon and a little bit of Coke. After you leave that aid station, it's a small kind of downhill, which is beautiful. It's green, it's lush, and it's very runnable. Running down that aid station, I started having what I talked about all day as being puke burps.
Adorable.
Yeah, it is adorable. I didn't really know what was going on because I wasn't very deep into the race, and I didn't know if it was just like an over liquid thing. My stomach was kind of sloshing around. So at that point I was like, oh, okay, this is not good, but it's doable to work my way through. So after you go down there, you do a river crossing, and then you start heading uphill, and it was fine. I kind of just grinded away and met up with a lot of other runners and kind of chatted our way up the uphills and continued on. Throughout that chunk of the section, just before we rolled into the second aid station, which is aid station 7, I guess essentially after that aid station is 10K to go. I was feeling okay. At that point, I had grabbed some Coke and watermelon again and redid one of my tailwind bottles. We started making the climb up that, and that's when I kind of took a bit of a turn for the worst. I don't know what was going on, but my stomach was unhappy. the day before when I was crewing Ethan, I was trying to do my best to like eat and hydrate properly, but it's just hard. It's like
It's hard to do that when you're out crewing because you don't want to take the time to stop at a restaurant and get a meal because
right.
you're afraid you're going to miss your runner or you're going to miss information or something like that. Crewing is tough,
Yeah.
especially the day before a race. Maybe you were running, and then hydration. You just like you try to stay on top of it, but there are so many other things that you're focusing on that day. It's easy to just forget.
Yeah, so I felt like things were off on the day before, and even at dinner the night before, as Ethan just said, he ate half my pizza. It's because I was literally laying on the bed,
She
and I was like,
couldn't
I
eat it.
can't force this food in me. Like, I didn't know what was going on. I just couldn't make myself eat. So kind of the last portion of the race was just really tough, and lucky for me, I had my friend Nikki, who I just saw pop into the chat room, Nikki Scott, and my good friend Diana, who I run with on a weekly basis. They were kind of hanging out with me at that point and kind of, helping me along. And I was feel really bad for Diana because she kind of got the big portion of what was going on with me because I'd be, trucking along behind her and she'd just hear me gagging. Poor girl. And I actually said that I was so glad you weren't running with me at that time.
I hate puking.
I don't know how you would have dealt with it.
Here's the thing, though. When it comes to ultras, I deal with it because, I'll do anything to keep myself from throwing out. I will do anything. I will stop and just not move forward if it means me not throwing up. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But if I'm with you or if I'm crewing someone that has to do it or is doing it on a regular basis or what, like I deal with it.
Yeah.
When I'm crewing you or when I'm pacing you and running with you at the Oregon Coast 50K, we both registered for that 50K. It's going to be her first.
Yeah.
Very excited about. And I will be running with her and filming her. I'm really excited to document that whole process. Excuse me, hit a burp. I will, if it happens, I don't think it will because you will have so many more things dialed at that point.
Yeah.
I can deal with it. I'm not afraid to deal with it, and I will film it.
Yay! What everyone wants to see.
Oh yeah, hot chicks throwing up. That's got to be some sort of fetish. Cool.
So, anyways, carrying on from that, we made it up to the top of Phlegm, and there's a bit of a deck there. I took a second just to sit because I know that
multiple people in the chat room have said that who ran the 50-miler or 50K said that they took 5-10 minutes at the top of Phlegm on that big wooden deck.
One, it's beautiful up there.
Oh, it's beautiful up there.
So if you're gonna pick a moment to like feel sick and sit down, that's the place to do
And
it.
you feel accomplished because it's the last summit, like a little peak.
Yeah.
It's the one peak that you get to that's actually kind of exposed. Like there's like a bit of a view. There's still trees up there and stuff. So yeah, take your time.
Yes, I took a minute there, and I was kind of saying to Diana at that point, I'm like, this needs to happen. My hands were swollen, like I couldn't get my rings off, and I actually got Diana to feel my stomach at one point, and it was just like, it was
rock solid.
It was like hard as rock and just like full and bloaty, and so I was like, well, I'm not going to throw up here because there's so many people just kind of doing what I was doing there, just chilling out. So we kind of made our way down the trail, and I hit the reset button. Is that the nice way to put it?
Yeah.
Hit the reset button on the trail and kind of took our time coming down the descent, and I ended up hitting that same button again one more time once we got to the road.
You got to leave your mark on the course somehow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, I finished, and I was happy to finish. Gary kind of did my post-race little interview on, at the end of the race with his microphone. He was asking me how I liked the trail, and I had informed everybody there that I had left a little bit of vomit out there.
I'm sure a lot of people were like, me too.
Actually, not a lot of laughs. People loved it.
Yeah, people love you. You're a great public speaker.
Vomit.
That's all it takes. Hey, vomit. Vomit. God, she's really good. She's really good at this.
I had a great day. It sounds like maybe I didn't have a great day, but I did. I loved it. I felt really spoiled because this is my background, my backyard, and I knew people everywhere. I knew people at all the aid stations. I knew people, at the finish line, and numerous runners and stuff are just people that I run with on a regular basis up here. So I felt very spoiled and very overloved, and it was a great experience. Just a wonderful experience.
You killed it. Absolutely killed it.
I wasn't bleeding at the end.
That's a success on these Squamish trails.
Yeah. There was a lot of carnage going on out there.
Yeah, there was. There was, as there is every year. There's an award for, I think they call it the Mike Murphy Award for bloodiest runner.
Yeah.
Most scars or most blood drawn. I don't know who got it this year. I don't know if the award was ever given out, but there
No.
was definitely some blood coming across that finish line. Stitches, for sure. People are
Yeah.
going to be getting some stitches.
That's kind of the end of my race. I mean, I owe a lot to Diana, who kind of dealt with me for most of the day. I think she's in the chat room as well right
Hmm.
now. And obviously, I mean, I think I had you at the back of my mind all day too because I knew what you were out there doing.
You had a stressful day Saturday because you saw me at Aid Station 2 suffering like a baby. But then
Like
you
an
saw me later,
adorable
like an adorable baby, like an adorable ginger baby with no soul. But then you saw me later on in the race, and then I was feeling much better. So you probably had a bit of relief. But you never know with a 50-mile race. Anything can change at any given point.
hmm
You saw me at the last aid station telling me to stay steady and, don't do anything stupid. Don't get cocky, kid. But then when you saw me at the finish, you were obviously very relieved. We were all very excited, and I was ecstatic. But then you have your own race the next day, and I'm out there on the same trails
Yeah.
with 50-mile legs on, trying to run 31 more miles, trying to catch up to you.
So I was kind of worried about you all day. Not
Yeah,
worried, but I
it's
definitely had
stressful.
you on my mind for a lot of the day, which one motivated me and, it got me going.
And I had you on my mind most of the day,
Oh, that's
making
cute.
sure, it was like worrying that you were having a
Worrying that
good
you
day.
would run into me.
What's weird is I was worrying about you worrying about me too much and not focusing on your own race. It's like, don't worry about me. I will do what I can do, and whatever happens, happens. But you did it.
I did it.
Where's your medal?
Yes, right.
Yeah. What? 23K medal. Earned it.
Yeah.
Totally earned it. Uh, yeah, I'll cheers to that. Yeah, why not? Go get another one of those. Are you empty?
No, I have a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and Justin and Destiny also did incredibly well. Again, this is their first trail race, and they plowed through it. Really, really excited that our two best friends attempted, started, and completed their first trail race on such technical, tough trails. So good on them. I know they're not watching live because they're still actually driving to Seattle right now, but they'll probably watch later um,
They better.
the pre-recorded version. So congratulations to both of you guys. They're incredible. And an incredible crew, too. Couldn't have asked for a better crew. Justin was filming on Saturday. I had a ton of technical errors on my fucking camera. Oh, I'm so pissed. So there's no audio from the aid stations, which is the big bummer. That is all on me. The camera's fucked. I don't know what I'm going to do about my camera. I don't know how I'm going to film reviews. Now I'm literally freaking out. But the camera had audio issues, so the aid stations I'm coming into, just like talking to Kim and trying to work through shit, none of that audio comes out.
But our faces say a lot.
But our faces say a lot, so I'll have to edit it and be smart with the way that edits together.
So
Let's do the 50K because I know we're already long on time, and I know people obviously want to know. So this whole weekend wasn't just about the 50-miler. This weekend was about the 50-miler and the 50K combined. What is the experience like racing a 50-miler, trying to recover, waking up the next morning, and then attempting to run 50K? So the 50-miler, when I finished the 50-miler and I finished an hour under my time from last year, I was so excited. I was so ecstatic. Just because I was having such a terrible day early on, hours of just suffering, when all I really wanted to do was just take it easy. It was really hard, but then to finish strong and still finish an hour faster than I was expecting or even wanted, was really, really excited. I was worried that maybe I was pushing too hard the last 15 miles or so. I didn't know how that would affect me the next day, but that night, like, my knees felt good, and that was actually my biggest concern, was that my knees would just be really achy, and that wouldn't allow me to climb or descend well the next day. But my knees felt good. My calves were totally fine. My quads were a little sensitive, but that's to be expected on some of those descents. My feet were what was really raw.
Yeah.
So it was really my feet. So the next morning, I wake up, and I'm actually walking around the hotel room pretty good.
You were like out of bed before me, and I wake up, and you're just like cruising around. Like I was so surprised you were moving so.
It will take. I mean, I knew basically after any ultra or any sort of running event, you get out of bed the next morning, and you're gonna be creaky. You're gonna be just sore. But for some reason, this morning, even though my feet were elevated on a pillow and they felt like raw meat grinder, I just thrown them right through a meat grinder, turned them into sausage. I put them down onto the floor and was like walking around going, oh, okay, well, it doesn't hurt as much as I thought it would hurt. And that kind of livened my spirits a little bit. So I'm kind of going around doing what I need to do, get my shirt on, get my buff on, and I swapped into the Pearl. I wasn't going to wear the same clothes I wore the day before, no way. But I had the Pearl Izumi split shorts. They're great for ultra running. They have the ultra pockets in the back, and they're just super comfortable. Had very little chafe from the day before, despite the fact that it was super humid and my shorts were wet the entire day. So very little in the way of chafing, which is great. Got all my stuff together, got my pack on, got all my nutrition together. I was going to do Tailwind again. As far as breakfast was concerned, I had a little bit of Greek yogurt mixed with some granola and another Ensure. I thought that the Ensure was a really smart way to get calories in liquid form in a small amount of liquid.
I also ended up doing that race morning because I'm such a bad eater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that might be something I just want to do for breakfast before races. It's a small amount of liquid and it gets you basically everything you need possibly for a race. Just drinking it far enough in advance that you don't show up to the start line and just chug it. And then you drove me to the start line. I got out of the car. I'm walking around fine. I'm feeling really good. I see Gary Robbins, the race director for the whole weekend. Him and Jeff are incredible race directors, by the way. I just know Gary better. I hung out with Jeff a little bit this weekend. The guy's super sweet, super nice dude. But I saw Gary at the beginning. He's like, "You showed up." I'm like, "I did. I got out of bed. We'll see what happens." He goes, "That's all that matters, man. You showed up." So I get to the start line, and there's a ton of 50K runners. So a lot of people signed up just for the 50K race. There's a huge amount of people at the start line, which the start line is at the 12-mile mark from the 50-mile race. So I'm very familiar with where this trail goes and where it starts and all that kind of stuff from the previous day. You have these.
Sorry, I need to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Our good friends Justin and Destiny are watching live via iPhone and Bluetooth speaker right now.
Oh my God, I love it. That's fantastic. Technology is crazy.
Sorry.
Shout out to them. That's incredible. So I'm just kind of chilling at the start line. I see Mike Wardian. Michael Wardian is the guy that was also doing the 50-50. He's an incredible runner, and he's known for running back-to-back races. He races like every week. He won 2 marathons in the same day, where he ran one in the morning and then flew somewhere else and ran it like the afternoon or something and won them both. I think he won the Big Sur Marathon this year. He got like second or something like that. I had never met him in person. I've always wanted to because he is such a prolific endurance runner, ultra marathon runner. He's a Hoka athlete. And so I'm at the start line. I introduced myself. I was like, "Dude, I don't know how you're doing this." He got, I think, 7th in the 50-miler the day before.
7th or 8th or something.
Top 10 for sure. Just cruising through. And he was signed up for the 50-50. And then so he was also running the 50K, obviously, the next morning. He's like, "I feel great, man. You ready?" I'm like, "I guess I'm feeling kind of good, too." He's like, "Yeah, you'll do great."
While you're talking, Mike, I've had a couple people mention my Mike Wardian photobomb.
It's so good. Your Mike Wardian photobomb is so rad.
I can't help it.
Yeah.
It's the Ginger Runner and Mike Wardian in one picture.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You can't beat it. So the 50K race is about ready to start, and I also touched base with Gary Robbins' wife, Linda, who is also running the 50-50. She did incredibly well in the 50-mile. Like the day before, I had only heard that she was just partying through the whole race, just having a great time, taking her time and enjoying the 50-mile race because she knew she had the 50K the next day.
Just an amazing woman.
Totally amazing. She's super positive.
Yeah.
I saw her at the start line for the 50K. She's like, "You know what? I feel fine. Yeah, I'm here. I'm walking around." And you can tell the 50-50 runners at the 50K race because we have these wristbands. So anyone running the 50-mile got a red wristband. Anyone that was running the 50K got a blue wristband. If you're running the 50-50 and you show up to the 50K with a red wristband, you know that this was a 50-50 runner. So you could look around and literally go, "There's a 50-50, there's a 50-50, there's a 50-50. And our bibs were a little bit different. Yeah. But this was, for me, all day, this was the indicator that I was running behind a 50-50 runner. If it was blue, I was running behind a 50K runner. So it was motivation for me. My plan going into this race, since I was feeling okay, I mean, everything was hurting like a motherfucker, but my plan for this race, take the first 5 to 10 miles super slow. Do not care if people are passing you. Do not care about anything other than just getting to mile 10. The most mileage I've ever put in a weekend was 62 miles, and that was during the Cuyamaca 100K. 62 miles, that's it. That's all I've ever done in a weekend total. This one was going to be 19 more miles. which is a long ways to go over the course of a weekend. So I knew all I wanted to get was to like mile 10. I could plug out another 2 miles or so, and I would top my mileage that I've ever done, like max in a weekend. So really, I was going into this race totally okay with DNFing, which is did not finish. I was absolutely 100% with not finishing. That was leading up to this race. That was not the case. Leading up to this race, I was like, I just got to do the whole thing. I either do the whole thing or I don't do anything.
Yeah.
But after finishing the 50 mile and doing so well and feeling so good, I was like, I don't care if I don't finish the 50K. I showed up to the 50K start. I don't care how many miles I get in. I'm just going. We'll just see what happens. The race starts, and I'm taking my sweet ass time, just running really casually, keeping my heart rate well below 140, just kind of getting my body warmed up because I know sometimes it takes my body a long time to warm up. I didn't want anything to happen like it did the day before, so I just kept going, really slow and at my own pace. My body did not want to run any faster than what I was moving, so I was just asking very little of it. First aid station, which is the lollipop loop from the day before when I was feeling real shitty. You don't have to do the lollipop this day. You actually just go straight up the big hill. I get to the aid station. I'm feeling great. The volunteers there, super awesome. Costumes and music and everything was really, really awesome. I was just really casually running. I take in the right amount of calories, and then I start plugging up the hill. As soon as I get to the hill, I'm very familiar with it. I know exactly the distance. I know the elevation. I pick an easy, moderate power hiking pace, and I just kind of start plugging by people. Everyone who had passed me before at the beginning of the race, which was a lot of people, basically I felt like the whole race passed me at the beginning. But that's almost motivation for me to just, I have now targets ahead of me that I can just pick off for the rest of the race. Just pick off people. So I keep pushing, and up this climb, I'm going as fast as I can up the climb while still saving plenty of leg strength for the later hills because I know they're just going to be terribly painful. I get to the top and I start working my way down the backside, which I know is extremely technical terrain. At this point, something starts going on with my toes. My left big toe has been an issue for the last month or so. It's been black in spots, but has not come off. It's been separated on half of it. Get that rattler. It's had separation in certain spots, but not to the point where I can take the toenail off. I know this might be getting a little graphic, but it's been an issue in the past, but never painful. Today, or during the 50K, it became so painful, I could barely put pressure on that foot. I was wearing my hoka huacas, by the way. I decided to go this day all in the hoka huacas because I needed that extra cushioning because my feet were so raw from the day before. It was a great decision, I think. It was between that or the Pearl Izumi Trail N2s. The Pearl Izumi is just a little bit stiffer, and they don't have quite as much cushioning, so I wanted to stick with the Huacas just for that.
You haven't really run in your Pearls
not a
as
ton.
much.
Not a ton.
Right.
So my feet wouldn't have been really used to them.
Mm-hmm.
So on the descents, my toes just kept pushing into the front of the toe box. No matter how tight I got the laces down, they would hit a rock or they'd hit a root, and it would just instant pain. Meanwhile, my right pinky toe started, I didn't realize it, but the day before, the toenail chipped somehow and basically turned into a dagger point and was digging into itself and the toe next to it. Even despite the Injinjis, there was no way to fix it. It was just every time you went down a hill, like a dagger digging into my toes. It was a sharp point. It was a sharp point. So I'm basically trying my damnedest to run down these hills, and this literally is how I was running down hills. It was terrible. It was terrible. I could not run. I had to skip, half shuffle. And so I'm going down this. It's a technical descent, and this is also when Elaine and other people that know me as the Ginger Runner and stuff like that are trying to talk to me, and all I want to be is like, hey, yeah, it's great to talk to you. I can barely keep it together because my toes are just killing me. I ran into another guy who I ran with for a couple of miles. Really nice dude. We have mutual friends, and we talked a lot during some of these technical descents. And at one point, I kicked my toe on a root or a rock, and in my mind I'm going, my toenail just came off. I had to stop because it hurt so bad. It felt like my toenail just ripped right off. So he runs on by. He's like, dude, you all right? I'm like, yeah. Toenail just ripped off. Give me a second. I'll catch up. I had to stop for like 2 minutes or something. I mean, I was in excruciating pain, and I just had to like center myself and focus it. And everyone who's run a 100-miler is like, ah, that's old hat. Losing toenails in the middle of a race, no big deal. It fucking hurts.
But for us who haven't run those kind of distance, it's like, eee!
Oh, it
I
hurts.
don't want to ever get there.
It hurts.
I don't have anything to do with that.
So, but you're in the middle of it. You're in between aid stations. You have miles to go to the next one. What do? You can't pull your shoes off and your socks off and like evaluate what's going on.
Pack your toes with moss.
I mean, maybe, or you try to remove the toenail or something like that in the middle of the trail. I wasn't about to perform surgery in the trail. I'm like, get to the aid station. The next one is going to be Quest, which is that university that I know there's a medic team there.
Yeah.
I will, if I need to, I will have them evaluate it. We'll deal with it. So I keep going down as fast as I can. I catch up to my buddy again, and we just kind of keep pushing, keep grinding. I'm totally familiar with where we are, except for the fact that we are actually running on new trails. So they switched up the trails for the 50K. I didn't realize it. So there's some cliff sections and stuff like that. But I know where I am on a map. So I know that we're really close to the university. I know we're close to the aid station. We roll in. Again, I fill the bottles, do the tailwind, get the watermelon, which just works really well for me. Get the various items that I can put into my system, Coke. And I sit down with the medic. I'm like, listen, I've got this toenail that has a sharp dagger point and it's digging into another toenail. I need to put a gap. I need to put, I don't want to take off my injinges. I just want to put a little bit of gauze between these toes to help separate them. And he's like, okay, what's your name? I was like, okay, Ethan Newberry. He goes, okay. And what's your phone number? He starts writing, like, before he even can treat me, he has to start taking all my information.
I think they have to do that.
I get it, but at the same point, I'm like, I just need a piece of gauze and a piece of tape.
Just give me some bundle of toilet paper.
You don't even have to fucking touch me. Don't even touch me. Just give it to me and I'll do it myself.
Were you rude to him?
Not at all. The guy was super sweet. He was a young kid. He knows. He's like, just one more piece of information. Okay, just one more piece of information. As I'm trying to do it up myself. And, I get the gauze in there and I have some tape just to kind of gap it. I put my foot back into the shoe. I'm like, oh, that's not going to work. That only puts added pressure on both toes by pushing them outwards into other toes and to the outer side of the shoe. So it's not going to work. So I go about a half a mile out of the aid station. I have to rip it out. I have to take it out. And I'm just like, you're going to have to deal with it for the rest of the race. You're just going to deal with it. Keep pushing. Keep grinding. Still feeling solid. I have no idea how I'm feeling so solid. Keeping the heart rate in the right zone. Just mentally trying to push through what I know is still coming. I know that there are still climbs. I know that there are still technical descents. I know that there's a lot of trail left to run. So it's all mental at this point. I've talked to Gary Robbins about this and other people who have run 100-mile races. There comes a point when your body will just perform. You just have to mentally tell it to keep performing and just keep pushing and trust that everything is working out. Taking in the calories, taking in the water, just sticking with whatever the plan is.
Yeah.
Just sticking with it. Not veering off. Not like, oh, you know what? I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich all of a sudden or any of that kind of stuff. I knew whatever was working was working. I just had to hold it together just a little bit longer. So at this point, I went in. At this point in the race, I kind of did some evaluation. The day before, the 50-mile race, 11:58 was my total time. That would give me 8 hours and 1 minute to go sub 20, which, as I mentioned earlier, was my total weekend goal, to go sub 20. At this point in the race, I was on the slower side. But I knew that if I had about 15 miles left, if I pushed these last 15 miles, I could potentially go sub 8, which is what I needed to finish under 20. 8 hours was my goal for the day. 8 hours. And I started running with another guy. He's a local dude, and I'm so sorry I forget his name. Super nice guy. We ran a lot of that middle section together. He was eating a chocolate bar at Quest University. He's like, hey, Ethan, want some chocolate? I was like, no, I'm good. But we ran a lot together, and both of our goals, he was also doing the 50-50, both of our goals that day was 8 hours. He ran like a 10-something the day before, so he was doing really, really well. But 8 hours was our goal. So we were kind of staying together and pushing each other. He was great on the downhills, and I was great on the uphills because that took all the pressure off my toes. But the downhills, he would like scream right back by me. So I knew if I stuck with him or he stuck with me, we would be on the 8-hour pace. He seemed like a pretty experienced ultra runner. Got to the point when he could not do downhills anymore. So he was still able to grind uphill and grind downhill, but he couldn't run the downhills like he was doing before. So I just had to focus and kind of do my own thing. I think at this point I'm still pushing. I get to the last aid station, which is mile 43.
43, yeah.
43 of the 50 mile 23 and a half.
10K left after that.
10K after. So I go to the last aid station. My friend Joe Chick is there. As soon as this was when I started getting into this zone again. I knew once I hit that fire road that goes down and then up into this aid station, which I mentioned for the 50 miler, I knew as soon as I got there, I just needed to go as fast as I possibly could for this race, because at this point, my watch said 6 hours and 50 minutes. 6 hours and 50 minutes when I hit that fire road. When I rolled into the aid station, it was 6 hours and 55 minutes. Yeah. That gave me an hour and 5 minutes to run 6.5 miles. Any other day of the week, any other trail race, any other situation, I could do it no problem if I really pushed. That's 10 or 11 minute miles, doable, totally doable. After running 75 miles, less doable.
At this point, too, this was my only point of reference for where Ethan was. Joe, who helped us out all weekend, he was sweet enough to text me, and I got the text from that, and it was at 1:55 p.m. exactly, and he said, Ethan just whipped through aid station 7, looking strong, looking great, he's already on his way.
12:55.
12:55, sorry, 12:55.
Yeah. So I basically rolled into the aid station. I ran up this hill, which I power hiked the day before. I ran up it. I passed 5 people who were power hiking up it. And all of them, when I passed them, were like, whoa, good job, dude. Because everyone at that point was just, everyone's spent. I'm spent. I'm totally done. But
it's a hard hill.
It's a hard fucking hill. But I knew that I could go sub 8 if I pushed. And after running and pacing, crewing and pacing AC 100 and watching Billy Yang push those last 25 miles as hard as he physically could and running all of it to go for a sub 24 and missing it by 20 seconds, I had no excuse not to push.
You laid it all out.
I had no excuse not to push, and I didn't have a pacer to keep me on time or to keep track of like where I was. And I wasn't about to like keep doing this. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to be that kind of runner. I wanted to just go guts out, balls to the wall, as much as I had left, and just see what happened. I get into the aid station. My buddy Joe Chick, who was now volunteering, he ran the 50 mile the day before. He was now volunteering here. Saw me running up. He was carrying like basically a big bucket of water bottles. Saw me running up and just was like, whoa, Ethan, I'm coming. I'll help you. He grabs my bottles, does the tailwind thing. I'm grabbing watermelon, drinking Coke. And I'm yelling to all the other people who are standing around, like other runners, who are just kind of like taking the time. I'm like, we can all go sub 8. Let's all go sub 8. Let's go. And everyone's like, no, we can't. Like, we're fucking done. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you trying to race out of here so quick? I didn't want anything to do with it. So I booked out of there as fast as I could. Ran the next section, which is uphill. Ran the downhill. Ran across this wooden dock, which I remember from the day before, signals the start of Mountain of Phlegm. Started running up Mountain of Phlegm. Power hiked with basically everything I had left to get to the top of Mountain of Phlegm. I passed, I can't tell you how many people I passed in that section, and all of them were just like, oh my God, great job, dude. There was one guy that I passed, and he was so pissed that I passed that he's trying to keep up with me. It only pushes me faster, so I was like, yes, try to keep up with me. It's going to push me faster. And I could hear like a jangle of a bell or something on his way, so I knew he was right behind me. We were racing downhill, racing out to the dock. I trip. I catch myself before I even hit the ground. I keep running. At that point, he stopped, and I'm running up a hill, and he gets left behind. I don't hear the bell anymore. So I'm like, you're doing it. Just keep pushing. And I get to the top of Mountain of Phlegm, and there's another guy up there. I think his name was Dean or something like that. I was running behind him, and he was a 50-50 runner. And he recognized me. He's like, what, way to go, man. You're doing great. I was like, man, we got to get sub 8. He goes, what do you mean? I was like, we got to go sub 8. It's at the top of Mountain of Phlegm. He goes, oh, man, I don't think it's going to happen. And I looked at my watch, and it was 7 hours and 48 minutes or something like that. And
at that point, you have just over 5K to go still. 5K,
Yeah,
a
about 3
lot of
miles.
it is like pretty technical and steep going downhill. Like it's not, you can't just bomb down that last part.
It's all downhill, and it's still 3 miles at least. And there's no way. There's no way I could do it in 12 minutes. Just physically impossible. So we get to the top of Mountain of Phlegm, like it was feet from where I looked at my watch. We just get up there, and he goes, "Man, you just want to stop and take in the whole view, huh?" I was like, "Actually, I am. I'm going to stop and take in the whole view. I'll see you at the finish line." I I get really emotional when I run. I do, and yeah, I shed some tears because why not? And my goal at that point was sub 20 was gone. Uh, so I get to the top, and I would take in the view because I didn't get to do it the day before either. Um, and you're 3 miles from the finish line, and all you want to do is be done, but you're also so disappointed in yourself. And it's like, why are you disappointed? You've come so far. There's no reason why you should be disappointed.
No reason at all after those 2 days.
Mm-mm. So, you got to put on your big boy pants, and then you just keep running,
I think
which
you
I did.
gotta, yeah, I think you gotta think about all those people who, one, didn't toe the start line day two of the 50-50ers.
Yeah.
Two, that got, I mean, I have friends that were sweeping the first portion of the course and they were picking people up before the first aid station on day two. You gotta remember, like, regardless of time and anything, what you did was amazing.
Yeah, I'm really.
I know you're proud. I know
I'm
you're
proud.
happy.
So I took the last 3 miles, just had fun, smiled the whole way, kind of basked in the journey from the previous 2 days and the previous 6 months really, and it it didn't really click until I crossed the finish line just how much I had invested over the last year of training and just life. Like you commit so much to it.
Mhm.
You take time away from friends, time away from family, and it's a selfish sport because you do end up spending so much time just with yourself.
It's really been what has been on our minds for the last, I mean, months.
Yeah,
It's been
yeah.
the big buildup.
It's been the big buildup.
Hmm.
So I enjoyed the last 3 miles. I would have enjoyed them more if I was racing for a sub 8. But I'm happy to say that no one passed me for maybe the last half of the 50K, if not more. Um, it felt good to be really strong the second day. I grinded down the last 100 meters. You run towards that finish line, you start hearing the cheering, and Gary Robbins, the race director, announces the ginger runner's coming through, and the whole crowd is cheering, and you can't help but get emotional. And then they throw this thing on your head, and this basically makes it all worth it. This is the big finisher for the 50-50. I don't know how many they gave out this year. I know that there was just under 100 that signed up for this. I'm pretty sure most, if not all, started the 50-miler. I don't know how many finished the 50-50 or even towed the line for the 50K.
Yeah.
I know that in the 50-50 running, Mike Wardian kicked everyone's butt.
Yeah.
Just decimated the 50-50 contingent.
Yeah, they had a good couple days.
I finished 19th overall in the 50-50. Uh, let's see, 18 of those were guys. One of them is a woman who is just incredible. Completely blew my mind. I don't know how many actually ended up finishing. I'm gonna be really curious to look at the results. My total time over the course of the weekend was 20 hours and I think it was either 16, 17, or 18 minutes. So I missed the 8-hour goal by like 18 minutes or something like that. Because I took my time. And I looked at my splits for the last few miles, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm going, I'm so fast. I'm running like sub 7 miles. No, you're running like 10-minute miles. You're just thinking you're really fast about it. And I just don't get it. I don't get how those elite guys can run so fast on that kind of terrain. Regardless,
You did it.
I did it.
You came out unscathed, happy, healthy. You earned that medal. You earned that hat. Think. Clink. People are wondering why I'm one up on you on beer already.
Because this is 1 liter, 1.8. No, it's 1 quart. No, wait, 1 liter.
5.5%.
But what is 1 liter in ounces? Why do I not know this
I don't
conversion?
know.
Is it 32 ounces? Milli, so
355 mils.
this is about 3 of hers. So I'm actually still one up on her.
So there's been actually quite a few questions in the chat room. Do you want to talk about that, or
Let's do it in the post show.
Okay.
So obviously long episode, a lot of storytelling and stuff like that, but I can't wait to share the video.
Wow.
I can't wait to share it. It'll be a while before I can edit it all together. I still have to edit my San Francisco film, that marathon, so that'll probably come out next week. I also have some shoe reviews. Excuse me. Shoe reviews and the San Francisco Marathon to release first. The Squamish. I can't chug this and then not expect to burp. The Squamish film will come out soon. I can't wait to work on it. My buddy Justin shot some beautiful stuff. You guys shot with a little handheld camera. I shot with my GoPro. It's going to be a big undertaking, but I can't wait and to make music for it and all that good stuff. So I won't even start that till I get back to the States. But yeah, I hope that you guys like it and anticipate that one. Before we move into the post show, where we'll answer all of your questions in the chat room that maybe we didn't get to, and so stick around. So if you do have questions, you can ask them, and we'll answer them as quickly and efficiently as possible. I have to thank Gary Robbins and Jeff, obviously the two race directors for the Squamish 50, 50, and 23K. Incredible race directors. All the volunteers. I think Gary said that they have over 200 volunteers. These are volunteers that are either racing one day and volunteering the next, which is, I mean, that's hard. You're on your feet.
Racing, crewing, and volunteering.
All three. I mean, you're on your feet all day as a volunteer, all day.
Yeah.
And then you go and race the next day or previous.
Or vice versa, yeah.
Unbelievable. So all the volunteers, I can't thank you guys enough. The race directors, can't thank you guys enough. Just opened your arms to both of us and to my friends and to like the whole community. And the trail running community up here in general is
I love it.
Unparalleled. Everyone welcomes you in with open arms. Yeah, I'm obviously from Southern California. Well, I'm originally from Seattle, but I live in Southern California. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm from the States. Canadians do not hold any animosity towards United States citizens. It's like a family up here. It's really great.
We're really spoiled up here. It's just...
And just some of the most beautiful trails in the world.
Yeah.
I want all of you to sign up for some sort of Squamish race next year, whether it's a 50K, 50 mile, or 23K. I'm sure Gary's going to add some 100-mile option or something crazy, knowing him. Sign up. Challenge yourself. Even if you don't want to do Squamish and you want to do something local, or you want to go do another race, or you haven't even done anything longer than a 6-mile race, I encourage you to join and be a part of a community around where you live that deals with trail running, because the community there is so much different than the running community, like road running community. I'm not saying that the road running community is not great, but the trail running community, there's something about it where they just welcome everybody.
Yeah.
All shapes, all sizes. It doesn't matter speed or ability. It doesn't.
It's not about time. It's not about speed. It's about how your experience was, how your journey was, and that's why I love it. I mean, I've been running trails for a while now, but yesterday was my first kind of race, and it's life-changing for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like a really, really good, rich experience for me.
And you see elite guys out there, or guys who are normally really, really fast, and they have really terrible days, like your friend that ended up finishing just after cutoffs, who is normally an extremely fast runner and like just.
Day.
But the thing is he's still pushing through, and it doesn't matter what time people finish in, and that's actually one of the things I really, really love is you cross the finish line, you finish, and people come up to you and like, how was your day? How was your experience? It's not
what your
watch
time.
Say. Yeah, because time doesn't matter, because you know anything can really happen, right? You can have a tough day, because people get it. Like the trail running and the ultra running community, they get it. So I encourage you to sign up for a race, challenge yourself, sign up for something that you don't think you could ever do. I just did, and my mind still can't wrap itself around itself.
What?
Yeah, that doesn't even make any sense. I can't believe it. I ran 50 miles, went to bed, woke up the next morning, and ran 31. I can't believe it.
So proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
You blew my mind.
You blew my mind this weekend. And to those of you who ran Leadville 100 this weekend, or any of these other extreme trail races, congrats to you. I don't know how you guys do it. So I will wrap up today's episode. We talked about this today, where I'm like, I try to wrap up an episode, and it takes me fucking 15 minutes to wrap it up. We're gonna move into the post show. Again, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for buying Ginger Runner Grinds and making it a top 15 electronic album on iTunes. I was ahead of M83, Chromeo, my idol Tycho.
Yeah.
I was ahead of Tycho all weekend. I can't believe it. I cite him as like inspiration for the music that I create. Can't fucking believe it. So thank you. Thank you guys very much. And continue to spread the word about that album. The album obviously is not going to go anywhere. It's still going to be on there. Right? If you liked listening to it, tweet about it, share it, share some of the music or the location of the music of purchasing it, because that by buying the album, it supports me directly. I don't make money for this other than what I get from the ads that I place on these videos, which kind of sucks because I hate like putting ads on stuff. However, it's like basically gas money. So the album is a great opportunity for me to maybe do something a little bit bigger, hopefully. And I won't even know if that even will help me pay rent until 2 months when iTunes goes, oh yeah, here's what you made. We'll see.
Sorry, can I just hop in for 1 sec? All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to thank everybody for, one, supporting and encouraging myself, but two, thank you guys for following along with me on Saturday as I supported this guy. Just your words of encouragement and, likes and that kind of stuff as I kind of updated you guys throughout the day was just, it kind of kept me going and kept me positive that day too.
Unbelievable amount of like comments and support.
Yeah.
On everything this weekend. Thank you guys. Thank you. Really, as I'm running, I'm going, I can't let everyone down. I can't let everyone down. Everyone is watching. I know you would understand if for some reason I needed to stop or I needed to quit. You guys are literally that nice. But I couldn't let you guys down. And all the comments of support on your stuff, on my stuff, and all weekend is just like, it's awesome. So overwhelming. Let's move into the post show. Thank you very much, guys, for watching this live episode. We're here every single Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm still in Canada. I might be in Canada next week. I'm assuming so, next Monday. I haven't bought my return ticket home. That's why I'm saying that. So tune in next week. We'll probably have a guest on. It should be really exciting. And make sure you subscribe to this channel, youtube.com/thegingerrunner. Go to Twitter @thegingerrunner, Facebook, facebook.com/thegingerrunner, gingerrunner.com. And Instagram @EthanNewberry, and go buy Grinds on iTunes now. Kim, where can people find you?
Facebook.com/milelonglegs, Twitter milelong_legs, and Instagram Kimberley DT.
Do it. We'll see you guys in the post show. Stick around. If you have questions, ask away. Let's get to them. See you guys in a second.
Bye.
Smells like pasta.
I was thinking it smelled like
garlic.
steak. Yeah.
Like it smells really good. Like we just basically got a flood of someone is cooking something and it smells amazing. We haven't had dinner yet. We've
had beer for dinner.
We've had beer for dinner.
And for lunch.
What questions have I missed?
So yeah, there's been tons of questions in the chat room, and I've been doing my best to kind of get to them. Isaac Galagos asked, is there anything both of you would have changed in your races? So I know for myself.
Anything we would have changed?
Yeah. For myself personally, I think I ran a little bit more conservative than I needed to for the first half while I was feeling good. Being it was kind of my first bigger trail race, I think I was overly conservative.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's good to kind of go out more conservative, save it for the second half type thing, but I think I was a little bit too conservative in the first part.
That changes. I was the same way with my first trail runs. The more you become comfortable just with distances on trails, because you also are dealing with there's lots of hills or there's lots of elevation, you'll become so much more confident. You'll feel more confident pushing the pace when that opportunity arises. That'll change.
Yeah, I think I was just so worried about, am I going to have anything left in the tank?
Yeah.
How about yourself?
I'm trying to think. I want to say I wish I wouldn't have drank so much liquid at the beginning of the 50-miler. There's no way to know if that was the cause. There's really no way. And by taking that 17 miles and going at a slower pace, there's no way to know if that helped in my finishing that race strong and then also finishing the 31 miles the next day strong. I actually was thinking about that while I was running the 50K on Sunday. I'm like, maybe that was my blessing, was taking those 17 miles real easy and having to walk a lot of it. It's almost like a warm-up for the 50-mile race. Maybe those 4 hours or however long it took me allowed me to run that 50K better. So I won't ever know.
Yeah.
As far as like maybe technical stuff, I probably wouldn't have filled my bladder as much.
I'm in the same boat with that for myself.
Yeah. I mean, I was just going off of last year when I had 2 handhelds plus, that was it, 2 bottles up front. You can go back and watch the video. You'll see that. I lacked liquid during a section of the race where there's a big gap. There's a big gap of time where you just need liquid. A lot of people ran out of water who maybe were carrying. I mean, there was a guy that I passed at one point that only had a single handheld, and he was not moving fast. I'm like, unless you're an elite who can go with a single handheld for, the gap is 7 miles. It's going to take you 45 minutes. You can go with a single handheld. It's not a big issue.
It's not going to cut it on this kind of race if you're
not really
like a mid-packer.
Except Brian Powell from I Run Far ran the 50K the next day. Did you see that? He only used 1 gel.
Oh, so he did run it.
He did. Yeah, Brian Powell from I Run Far ran the 50K the next day.
I thought I heard that.
He said his pace was. This guy's incredible, by the way. He will just jump into a 50-mile race with like 0 training and then go rock like a 9-hour 50-miler without any training. He was keeping it in his car. He also has records, like records at Western States. Didn't even realize that. The guy's an incredible runner. He was a guest on Ginger Runner Live many episodes ago. But I Run Fire was up here for the Squamish 50-miler because there was going to be a lot of runners like Dylan Bowman, Alex Varner, who ended up having to drop. He's a good friend of ours. Super bummed when I saw him having to drop at the 50-miler. Guy's incredibly fast. He had some ITB issues.
But I got to pick him up shirtless.
You did get to pick him up shirtless, and we have video of that. It's kind of adorable seeing this tiny little fast ninja man with a heart rate strap, but no shirt, buckled into the back seat of Kim's car, driving him back to town. But Brian Powell just incredible. He ran the 50K the next day on these incredible trails, really difficult, and just oh yeah, the trails are really fine. And I had a gel. That's it. He was running in his comfort zone where he knew that it would just fat burning essentially, low heart rate fat burning, and he still did incredibly well. I don't know what his final time was. He posted the Strava recently, but yeah, I don't know as far as what I would change. So the bladder thing, shoe choice. It's hard to say. I mean, I love the Wild Horse 2. For some reason, my feet were just chopped up by the end of 30 miles on Saturday. I don't know why.
The terrain up here, maybe you just haven't really run a lot of this terrain with them.
Maybe.
I don't know. I was happy with my shoe choice.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. The Huacas are great, but also, I've run the Huacas 250 plus miles, and this is the new pair that I put maybe 40 miles on. Just great. But for some reason, my toes were just shit on Sunday, and I don't know if that's from the Huacas or if that's from just not taking care of my toenails in advance, just making a stupid mistake.
Did you steal my license? Asks, any recommendations on fitness trackers / running watches?
Ambit 2 has been my go-to, and it absolutely 100% has not let me down a single time since I've started using this watch. The Phoenix, or the Phoenix 2, I had nothing but issues with. I mean, I know I did a comparison. I did a review of both those watches. The Phoenix became such a problem, I had to take it back. I wasn't even going to keep it at that point, so I took it back. And the Ambit 2 has been nothing but brilliant. Brilliant. However, you have also had issues with your Ambit 2.
I've had issues with this. I actually didn't run with this on the weekend because I'm actually a tester for Be a Sport watches, which...
Do you have it on now?
No, is it charging? It's packed still. I haven't unpacked my luggage. So I've been testing that. It's a GPS watch designed by some awesome women. And it's kind of aimed towards female runners. They are making a male's version, I do believe. So that's what I've been running with. It's pretty great because it has a SOS system on it.
I think it's really cool.
I've actually accidentally SOS'd Ethan once from my watch, but it was good. I mean, it sends a signal out. He picked it up. It gives you your coordinates of exactly where
links
you are.
straight to Google Maps, and it will show you exactly where that person is if they're sending an SOS, and they can turn the SOS off. So if you send an SOS and like everything's actually fine, you can turn it off.
Your watch will ask you,
and I'll get a text saying everything is fine or whatever your message is.
So that's what I've been running in for the last couple weeks. So I've been
pretty
enjoying it.
Cool. I have to be honest. It's one of those. It was a Kickstarter campaign originally, I believe, like a year ago or something. Female-oriented watch. The ergonomics of it are really interesting, and that was kind of my concern. It sits on your wrist diagonally. It's like a little bar, and then the strap goes around at an angle. But it seems to work okay.
Yeah, you'll see it in some of my pictures.
It's really light.
Yeah.
Extremely light. There's no real... The GPS and all that stuff is not in this section of the watch. It's actually in a little clip. That was one of the downsides. I haven't reviewed the watch or anything like that. It's a female watch. Maybe you can review it.
I will be reviewing it.
Yeah. My first instinct was like, oh, it's two separate things. You have to clip this thing onto a shirt or to a belt buckle or something, and it will connect to the watch, and it uses this as the GPS.
It's the brain,
kind of
the clip,
the brain.
Whatever is in the clip is the brains. That's what you charge the watch. You actually don't ever have to charge. For races like this past weekend, it's fine because my clip just clipped to my vest, and I didn't think about it at all day. I've used it for road runs where I'm just running pretty minimally. I've clipped it to my water bottle or just to my waistband. It's been fine.
Oh, David H says Brian ran a 6:23. Oh yeah, no big deal. That's an easy pace for him on that terrain, like 8,000 feet or 7,000 feet of elevation change, and he ran a 6:23. That's pretty good. That's really good. Figure that he only took in a gel plus aid station candies and food like that and Coke and stuff. So good job, Brian Powell.
David Appleby is thanking me for not vomiting on the cones he had to pick up in Loggers Lane.
That's awesome.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so if you guys have any questions for us, continue to ask them in the chat room. If you've asked it before and we have not gotten to it, ask it again, because it's tough on these computers to scroll all the way back up in the chat room.
There's been a couple people that have kind of put in, it's not really a question, it's more of a request. People are asking for you to do beer reviews in addition or coordinating with some kind of product review, like a wine pairing type situation.
I have thought a lot about that. And I don't know if I'm I consider myself a shoe expert. I'm a shoe geek. I'm a gear geek. I know all the intricacies of all these products. I'm like, I hope a company goes, hey, you know what? We want to hire you, Ginger Runner, to make and basically give us feedback on how to make our shit the best. Because I feel like I've come to a point where I'm like, I know all the details that this gear needs to make it the best. I know that this detail here is something that is going to aggravate me. It sucks. I don't know why you guys chose to do that. Hire me and help me, or let me help you make the best gear possible. I would love that as a career. Where multiple brands kind of hired me to make the best shit possible. As far as beer is concerned, I just know if it tastes good to me. I know everyone's palate is different. There's this huge IPA trend right now where everyone's like, I love hoppy beers. I love IPAs. But then they drop like a 90 IBU beer into their mouth and like, this is terrible. Like, well, you're not a fan. It tastes like armpit. Like, you're not a fan of beer. I know so little about the intricacies of beer and brewing. I've done some home brew, but there's just...
It's been about 50% successful.
Yeah, about 50% successful out of 3 batches, which is an interesting interesting percentage. It's something that I want to leave to the experts. I have no problem drinking it and enjoying it, but I don't want to be the guy online that's like all of a sudden,
I'm a beer expert.
I'm a beer expert. I basically taught myself how to do this at home, and now I know everything. It's like, I don't want to be that guy. I will enjoy it and drink it. And someone just called me out like, you're still drinking that same bottle? That's
the same one that was ridiculing you for being behind me.
This is three full cans of beers. Reference. Do you not understand? This isn't like a look. Oh, look, it's a bottle of Coors Light. It's not a bottle of Coors Light. Here's a size reference. Wait. That's about right. That's about accurate.
Robert Sell asks, is the 23K as technical as the 50?
They all run the same course. And
that last 23K...
I would say, yeah, the most technical parts of the 50K are actually in the last 23K. The most technical parts of the 50 miler are in the beginning climb and then the last 23K. The middle section's not terrible. I have to say that the 50K the next day, when I crossed the finish line, Gary's like, how did it feel the second time? And I was like, you know what? Not as hard as the first time. And I think it's because you're mentally prepared for what you're about to encounter. You know that it gets hard at this section. You know when you come down this mountain, you know it's really tough. And you have to grab onto trees to like kind of help yourself down. Like you know that going into it. So it's almost like mentally easier because you're prepared for it.
A surprising amount of 50-50ers were coming across
saying
the
that,
finish
right?
line saying, oh, today just felt, so much better.
What's the weather to be expected for the North Face San Francisco in December? It looks pretty cold from when you read last year. Expect anything. 2 years ago, it was like a hurricane. It was like terrible rain, terrible wind. They had to close half the trails because of mud and flooding possibilities. The trails got tore the fuck up. Last year was really cold, but totally runnable, really tolerable all day. This year I'm running the 50 miler as well in December in San Francisco, and I'm expecting it to be anything.
A surprise.
It's going to be a surprise, and that could happen literally days before. You won't even know.
Lemmy K asks, would we have used Solomon shoes instead for this race?
What?
Would you have either of us use Solomon shoes for this race instead? I personally, they just don't fit my feet right.
You like a little bit wider.
I need a nice,
most Solomon shoes
kind of shoebox, and the Solomons I've tried on just haven't fit my feet right.
Yeah.
I also have bunions, so I have very specific shoes I need to run in, and Pro Azumi trail shoes for me are just always the right answer.
I ran the 50 miler last year in the Mantras, Solomon Mantras, and they were great. I mean, the thing is with the Mantras or the Sense Pros or the Sense Ultras or the Sense 3s, your foot has to be used to them because they are a little bit more minimal. They don't have a ton of cushioning. They got great grip, but your feet have to be used to them. And as someone who reviews shoes constantly and is always rotating through, I knew that I would have to get at least a good month of training in the Sense Pros or the Sense Mantras to run this race, this whole weekend in those shoes. And it wasn't going to happen with my review schedule. So I was using shoes that I was currently reviewing. I have success in the Wild Horses. I have success in the Kygers. I have success in the Huacas and the Pearl Azumi Trail N2s. So all of those shoes I brought. I brought everything and basically had backups for backups for backups. And based off of how my feet feel right now, my feet are actually hanging in there today. I'm happy with my feet choices.
You chose the right feet.
And the shoes are pretty good too. But I am going to lose toenails, guaranteed. I know at least 3 are going to fall off in the next couple days.
Sister Heidi is asking what I'm drinking. That means you weren't listening.
Heidi Biddle, my sister Heidi, is watching, and obviously was not watching when Kim said what she was drinking.
Heidi, I'm drinking Parallel 49, which is a local brewery here. I'm drinking their Radler, so it's beer and grapefruit juice. Delicious.
I'm a big fan of Radlers. I think it literally translates to rider, or like cycle riders, like a cyclist. Tricycle. It is a Belgium or German recipe or something from Europe that basically combines grapefruit or some sort of citrus juice with beer. And I'm a huge fan of Radlers. They're just not super alcoholic, which is fine. They're usually low % booze.
They're perfect for me.
Perfect for summer and like just chilling and like beach beer.
Or like camping beer.
I have to say, both Justin and I would say Justin invented this. This weekend, Justin, our friend who's not currently here, but maybe watching while they're driving back, invented a concoction that was incredible. Half IPA, half hard cider. And it basically gave you this like bitter-sweet, citrusy mix. It was awesome. Super tasty. So we had that. We actually made that at House Sound. We had the waitress bring us half and half, and it was delicious. It was really good.
Somebody in the chat room was saying Mike Wardian was getting teased on Twitter for being chicked by Ellie yesterday. And my response to that is, any dude should be lucky to be chicked by Ellie.
Boom.
If you're getting chicked by Ellie and you're that close to the finish, you're having a damn good day.
Why would people say that? Wardian finished the 50 miler the day before.
Yeah.
Wardian finished the 50-50 in first place. Ellie, I believe, broke the course record. I think both her and Adam broke the
Yeah, I
course
think
records for
so.
female and
Yeah.
male. Ellie was
Ellie's a
flying.
damn good runner, and this is also her backyard. This is
Oh,
where
this is her backyard.
these are her trails. It
She
would have been wrong if she didn't.
she didn't. I mean, actually, at the beginning of the start line, Gary and Adam were talking, and I was kind of I was the third person in the circle, just kind of listening in and getting all giddy. But Gary was teasing Adam that he better not be beat by Ellie, because everyone was predicting that Ellie would win the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Adam didn't let that happen. I don't think he was even going to remotely let that happen, but because he wouldn't hear the end of it. But Ellie is just an incredible runner. And I talked to her at the finish line, too. I went up to her and was like, hey, listen, I'm a big fan. I love what you did at Comrades. Like, I was up at 3 a.m., like, watching the finish, and was just blown away. I was like, how did you feel today? I know that you did, like, incredibly well. She's like, oh, just kind of taking it easy and just had some fun. These trails, you just want to have fun. And I'm like, do not blow it off like it wasn't a big deal, what you just did. You just annihilated 99% of the field and did an incredible thing, racing as hard and as fast as you did. Do not play it off like it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, when I was fangirling over her, she's like, having a good day.
Just having a good day, just having some fun on the trails. I mean,
like my pupils turned a little hard.
bloop, 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 bloop.
What else? People are asking if you're planning on returning to Squamish next year. Wow.
People are saying that you're out drinking me.
I just growled into my beer. So maybe I... Can I get you another?
I'm literally going to come across as an alcoholic in this post show. That ginger runner, he sure does love his alcoholism. But yeah, of course. What was the question? I just saw one. What did you ask?
Are you planning on returning to Squamish next year?
Yeah. I'll be back. Here's the reason I'll be back. Gary puts on a great race. Jeff puts on a great race. These guys are top-notch. These trails are unlike anything else in the world. I get to travel and be in a community of trail runners that appreciate people and they appreciate nature, and they take care of nature, and like they cherish the trails that they have in their backyard. Squamish is this beautiful little town just at the foot of the mountains. It's gorgeous territory. The race is super hard, super challenging, and I love that aspect of it. I will be. Oh yeah, I'll definitely be back next year because I want to do better, and I want to continue to push myself and see if I can and get better at all of this. And I think this would be a really great challenge year after year after year to attempt and to see if I can better my previous year's times and stuff like that. Plus, this race has already grown exponentially.
Almost doubled
in size since last year. As soon as these races go live this year for registration, I'm guaranteeing they'll sell out in 24 hours. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking all of these races will be sold out, not just from locals. I think locals are going to try to jump on it as soon as possible, but there's going to be people from around the globe. I mean, we have the Germans. I don't know if the Germans are still watching, but we have people from Germany, from England, from all across Australia
yesterday,
from all across the globe coming to Squamish to run these trails. It is going to be a destination. I mean, I know that he had I Run Far come in to document the race because there were some really big names that were supposed to run it, but unfortunately, multiple circumstances came into multiple runners' lives that kept them from participating. Next year is going to be a completely different story.
Yep.
I guarantee you, next year there's going to be 10 out-of-town elite guys, 10 out-of-town elite women. They're going to be racing this race against 10 local guys and 10 local women.
It's going to be a really interesting head-to-head stuff because
it's going to be huge next year. I predict that now.
Yeah.
Because Gary's top-notch. He's an elite ultra guy. He's world-class, just an incredible runner. So if you guys want to come up to Squamish next year, make sure you register early. Mm-hmm. It's going to sell out. I can't wait for next year, actually.
Maybe I'll do the 50K.
I think you should do the 50K at least. And I know that, knowing Gary, he's going to do something crazy.
I think he should do the 50-mile washing machine style.
Fuck that.
I see that because I've never done it. I think it's a good idea.
Oh man, I can't even believe I'm going to say this. I'll say it now. If Gary,
Don't say it.
Mm-mm.
Say it.
Right. If Gary puts out the 100-mile option, I will sign up for it. Because
You heard it here, Gary.
you heard it here, Gary. If you put out a 100-mile option, unless it's the 50-mile washing machine style, that would be terrible. I will run it. And if it does happen that way, that might be my first 100-mile.
What if he does 150-50?
Fuck that. No. But I would think that he'd have to start it like Friday. I wonder if that would be a Friday start, or if he'd start it Saturday.
You need to stop brainstorming for Gary right now.
No, it's his job. I'll just have to deal with either signing up for a 50-50 or with the 100-miler.
What else do we have? 20689 asks, would you run a race together, or are your paces incompatible? Me and you. We're incompatible.
Well, for now.
For now.
Kim is just now getting into trails. Like I mentioned earlier, and like you mentioned, she bombs downhills. We can keep together on the downhills, no problem. Like, your confidence on downhills is incredible. It's the longer distances and grinding up hills a little bit faster.
Yeah.
You're gonna get that in months. Like, it's just gonna happen. You're running your first 50K, Oregon Coast 50K.
We'll be running that together.
Together.
You'll be.
We're both signed up. I am running with her so I can film her and document the whole thing. I think it's going to be a kind of a cool experience to try to document. So,
I mean, eventually at some point in our lives, I hope to be able to run with Ethan at his pace.
That's right. David H says Ellie came in within seconds of second place during the 50K. That's right. I forgot about that. It was a sprint to the finish. She almost came in second overall behind Adam. She sprinted against, I think it was Mike Murphy. But she finished basically 2.5 seconds behind him. Incredible finish. I wish I was there to witness that. But that was also hours before I finished, because they're fast. I'm missing so many comments because I keep forgetting that my mouse, when it goes over the comments, it stops the comments from loading.
TA640 Fun says, thanks for the photo and pleasure meeting you, Ethan. You were hunting me down the finish on the 50-miler.
Thanks for the photo and pleasure meeting you. I don't remember that. Was it during the race or was it after the race? Maybe it was after the race.
Also, shout out to Germany, people. Still online.
Yeah, Germany is still online.
Watching.
Steve Ausch. I believe, Steve, you ran the 50-miler and then you volunteered during the 50K?
Were you wearing a Train Race beer shirt?
Yeah, were you one of the runners that was at the top of Mount Flem? I was curious about that.
I saw somebody who I thought was German with a Train Race beer shirt, and I pointed you out, and I was like, you have Ethan's shirt on. Was that you?
From Isaac, would you consider the Speed Goat 50K? Yeah, it's been on the list. Carl is an incredible runner, puts on an incredible race. Billy Yang ran the Speed Goat 50K, not this last race, but the year before, and said it was one of the toughest things he's ever done. Altitude racing it takes this very specific type of training. I don't live at altitude. I live at sea level. Well, I live at 700 feet. But I tend to train at high altitude fairly regularly. And by high altitude, I mean anywhere between 5,000 and 7,000 feet. So Speed Goat, I think, averages at 9,000 to 10,000 feet. And it takes a whole different type of training. And I heard that it is technical, steep, and very tough. It's definitely on the list sometime. Yeah.
So that was indeed our Train Race beer guy.
Yes, I love it.
I said hi to you. I was really stoked to see a Train Race beer shirt out on the course.
I wish I got to see it.
Doing very well. It kind of made me smile.
I don't know how I missed it. Someone was wearing a Train Race beer shirt on the course.
Wait.
That's
we
awesome.
We actually drove by you later on, I think.
Yeah, you were. I think he was hanging out at the finish line or something like that, or like walking down the street. We drove by it.
Anyways, regardless, he put a smile on my face, and I think that was one of the first things I said to Ethan at the end of his race. Did you see the Train Race beer shirt, guy?
Love it. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for supporting. I appreciate it. Danke, Steve. At the finish, went 11:51. Also asked Kim how you were doing at Quest. She said you were doing much better at that point.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so you must have finished right before me, because 11:58 or 11:51, I was just minutes behind you. I'm trying to remember. I'm so sorry, man. But yeah, it was great to meet you as well. And congratulations. Way to kill it. If I'm looking to transition from half marathons and marathons into something like Squamish, what timeline would you recommend for training from 26.2 up to 50?
Are you
50K or 50
talking,
miler?
and are you talking road,
I'm assuming he's talking road.
transitioning from road to trail
So this
stuff?
question actually comes up a lot with people on some of my videos and comments on YouTube and stuff like that. As far as transitioning from road to trails, you just need to do it. You have to throw away the idea that you're going to be getting 7-minute miles or whatever you're running on roads. Just kind of throw away that preconceived notion that you're going to be able to run the same pace on trails. It's just going to be different. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a lot slower. You're just going to have to incorporate more power hiking, fast walking, fast hiking, and maybe slower running up hills. You might be able to run faster downhills because you have much more downhills. And, trying to find local trails that you can run and train on and just kind of gauging what your pace should be for longer distance runs. If you're already training for a marathon, you're already got legs with muscles and strength. So it's really going to be a matter of working on hill climbing, technical descents in the sense, if that is the sort of trail running that you want to do. If you're thinking about doing Squamish, 50K or 50 miler, you've got to work on technical. You basically have to find the most technical trails around you and run them religiously.
Put in the time.
Put in the time. Because a lot of the fastest people that run Squamish are training on trails that are more technical than Squamish. So when they get to actual Squamish races, it's much easier for them to run faster. And a lot of them are local. So a lot of them are running on the trails that are actually in North Vancouver,
which
tend to be a little bit more technical.
Yeah.
Because they're just kind of untouched, unharnessed beasts of trails. Squamish do have sections of runnable sections and stuff like that. So you're going to want to do as much training on trails as possible. It's really easy to transition. It takes a lot lower impact on the body. Like it's much easier to run long distances on trails, I find, because of the lower impact. And you are power hiking rather than running the whole time. You're kind of mixing it up. So you're working different muscle groups.
Just the wear and tear after San Francisco, the marathon this year.
Yep.
Different.
Spec Diesel says, "All right, Ginger and Mrs. Ginger, like your toenails, I'm out of here." The toenails aren't off yet. They will be coming off soon.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow. Racing 50 milers and volunteering the day after getting attacked by millions of lies. I missed that part. But Toby wears the shirt. I still need one. Get one, Steve.
Okay, so it was your friend that I said hi to.
Got it. 50 miler, says Eric. Okay, so if it's the 50 miler you're training for, you have two things to train for: trails, technical trails, and that distance. So you want to make sure that you're training for that distance on trails, because you can't just train for a 50 miler on roads. You got to train for a 50 miler on trails. It's a whole other beast. You're running double marathon there, essentially. Hey, Ethan, SOB 100K this upcoming year. That's the first time they do that, isn't it? Sean O'Brien race. I did around the 50K last year. They do have a 50 miler, 50K. Now their 100K option is there. If it's a Western States qualifier, I'll probably do the 100K. Kira puts on incredible races. They're all so dialed. She's incredible as far as like the SoCal trail running community. She's at the top of the league, putting on just really fantastic races. If she'll have me back, I'll absolutely run that race again. The 100K would be, if it's a Western States qualifier, because I know her 50 miler last year was part of the Montreal Cup series. So the people who got top three basically got into Western. If the 100K would be a Western States qualifier, I absolutely will sign up for it, because the Cuyamaca 100K this year sold out in minutes. That was my goal Western States qualifier race this year. It's next month. It's October.
It's like the week.
It would be perfect to run Squamish, 82 miles in Squamish. Take a couple weeks to like completely recoup. Spend a couple weeks training back up again, and then run Cuyamaca and qualify for Western States. That was my goal all year. I'm on the wait list. They've already brought in like 50 people off the wait list, and I'm still think I'm like 25 or something like that. I'm way down. There's no way I'm getting in. I'm so bummed. So I'm basically looking for another Western States qualifier that isn't 100-mile race that will completely destroy me because I'm already pretty destroyed.
Yeah.
I'm already pretty destroyed. So I just needed to make sure I take my time in recovery. Nick Elson, who won the 50-mile, just started doing ultras last year. Is that Nick Elson won Squamish 50-miler? I think that's true. I think it was Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's crazy is like you'll see people join up into the ultra community, and one of their first runs or first couple runs, like they'll go win races.
Win.
I mean, that happens all the time. Like really fast road people or really fast short distance trail racers. Alex Varner. Alex Varner is a perfect example. He ran his first 50-miler this year. I don't remember what he placed. Lake Sonoma. He did Way Too Cool. He got second behind Vargo by like seconds or like a minute or something. Vargo. Varger is a fucking phenomenon. Varger? There's Vargo and Varner. It's like if they had a baby, it'd be Varger. Varner is just the nicest dude, super sweet guy, and super fast. I'm so bummed that he had to drop.
He's kind of fast.
Kind of.
I could take him.
No big deal. But he ended up getting 7th place at Western States, his first 100-mile race this year. Yeah. 7th place amongst that field of competitive runners, just incredible. Absolutely incredible. When will Kim be Mrs. Runner? When will you be Mrs. Runner?
Soon.
Yeah. Why not the Solomon Speedcross? Seems most popular. I agree, Robert. The Speedcross was all over the trails this weekend.
I will say Solomon shoes are big up here. I would say majority of runners when you're out on the trails locally here, it's Solomon and then maybe Pearl Zimi.
Yeah, they're all over. And out in the course yesterday and the day before. Tons. Speedcross are super popular. I saw my Speedcross 3s. I love them. They tend to be a little too beefy for me. Like too stiff, a little too responsive, and the heel drop is a little too high for me for the longer distance races, a little too narrow. But so many people swear by them, so it could just be my feet. I don't know. I have other shoes that I tend to go to for these kind of races. But he is a very competitive ski mountaineer. Is Nick? Oh yeah, I mean if it's skimo, if Nick's background is skimo, that's why he's such a good ultra runner. I mean look at Killian Jornet. Killian Jornet, he's a skimo expert. The guy has been dominating that sport for years, and when you start jumping into ultra running as well, it's like it's a no-brainer. You're just so fit from skimo. Gary Robbins, I think, is even doing some skimo.
I think so.
And he'll be doing more this year, I'm sure of it, because he just started last year, but he's killing it. Skimo and ultra running tend to go hand in hand. Look how dark it's getting.
I know, we're losing daylight.
We have a freeze frame of us earlier in the show compared to what it is now. It's so dark. It's so dark. Okay, well, I think we should let you guys go so we can go get dinner.
Yeah, we also only had beer since lunch.
Only beer.
I just want to, take a second just to, again, say how proud I am of Ethan and his accomplishments this weekend. It just is, like, overwhelmingly crazy to me, and I'll support you through any of this weird stuff you want to keep doing. And two, I mean, I had so many friends out on the trails this weekend, Diana, Nikki, Alana, Colin, Chris, Ed, all of you guys. You guys are just inspiring and amazing. For some of you, it was your first ultra, and you guys just nailed it this weekend. And just being around these kind of people is just, I love it. I love it. Especially you.
I love you too, babe. And I would also like to congratulate you on your first official trail race. Nice 14, 15-mile distance, just killing it. Rocking it out. Your friends are awesome. All of your friends out there who are watching, you guys are awesome. Thank you for supporting Kim and welcoming her into your community. To all the viewers, obviously, I can't thank you guys enough for making the album what it is, for making my videos what they are, for continuing to inspire me. I can't tell you how many stories I get on a daily basis of people telling me the weight that they've lost or the distances that they're running now, and they never thought they could run these distances. It's like it's non-stop inspiration, and it really is the coolest thing. The coolest thing.
Like coming up to say hi to us during the races. It's the
that
best
is awesome.
thing.
That is awesome. I have to say, during the 50K, every person that I saw on the trail was like, "Oh, you're the Ginger Runner. Hey, thanks for what you do. Oh, hey, you're Ethan. You're the Ginger Runner. Thanks for what you do. Like every person. I couldn't believe it. It was incredible. Turn that light off. Let's see if that helps the camera automatically adjust to go brighter.
I have to move my jelly tots.
Move your jelly tots. I just want to see if the camera goes lighter. Because right now I think it's compensating for the light.
Okay.
We'll take a look as we say our goodbyes. It didn't help. It looks like now we are literally in a tent. Okay. Regardless, it's obviously too late for us to be continuing with the show. We got to wrap it up. So you guys are awesome. I will continue to thank you every single episode because the community is growing. Ginger Runner Phenomenon is growing. Mile Long Legs, that community is growing. Everything is growing, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So thank you for tuning in. Next Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will be back with another live episode of Ginger Runner Live, hopefully with a guest. Maybe we can try to convince Gary Robbins to come on.
I think we should get Gary and maybe Gary and Linda.
Gary and Linda would be rad. Gary and Linda would be really, really great. Or even Michael Wardian. See, maybe Michael would want to come on.
You might not want to speak to us after I...
No, your selfie is great. Your photobomb selfie is adorable. So thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around for this whole episode. I just saw the viewers, like, the number of viewers just dropped by like 20. Like, oh, they're done. So
that's when you turn the light out.
That's when we need to, like, do a surprise or something. Maybe we should give something away. I still need to give away.
Ooh.
I'm going to do a giveaway this week. Those of you who are currently watching live, maybe I should give like a secret password.
Yeah. The password is toenail.
Toenail. At some point this week, on one of the social medias, whether it's my Twitter, my Instagram, it won't be YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
No.
I'll ask some weird random question. I'm trying to think of like a way that only you guys will know. Give me a question that doesn't even have to have the answer toenail.
I don't know.
What's my favorite beer? Or give me your favorite beer recommendation or something like that. And the answer will be toenail.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where you're getting with it.
So those of you who are still watching live, this is just for you guys because you are the hardcore Ginger Runner Mile Long Legs fans. Okay, so at some point this week, I will ask for your favorite beer recommendation, and the answer will be toenail. The first person on whatever, it's not gonna be all of the social networks. It'll either be Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or something like that.
Yeah.
The first person to respond on whatever social network that might be. I realize that my Twitter and my Facebook are connected, so if that's the case, I'll just take the first one on either of those. First one to respond with toenail
as their beer recommendation. That's perfect.
You will win a prize. Whether it's a Train Race Beer buff when I finally get the buffs, or a pair of shoes or something, I don't know. I'll figure something out pretty cool. I think that's fun.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
You guys are the hardcore ones.
Yeah, and look, we've already lost another 7 viewers.
Oh.
Do I need to add another? Oh, we've gained 3 more.
Okay.
I should add another caveat.
We need food. We
do need food.
We're losing
Should it be toenail? Don't get cocky, kid. No, it's just toenail. We'll just keep it a toenail. If you add don't get cocky, kid, you get. I'll give you a bonus. If you're in second place with don't get cocky, kid, you'll get first place. Okay, that's it. I don't want to add any more caveats. Could we gain one more viewer? I don't want that person to get any secret advice. You guys are awesome. Go be with your family, be with your friends. If it's the morning, go for a run. If it's the night, go to bed. We'll see you guys next week. Can't thank you enough. Congratulations.
Yeah.
What a fucking weekend.
Such a good weekend.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.